Chapter 348. Yang Zheng didn't have any reaction. Yang Dingtian said again, "Yang Zheng, you've lost. From today onwards, I'm the Cloud Heaven City Lord." Yang Zheng's eyes suddenly shrank as he stared coldly at Yang Dingtian. "You didn't self-detonate your aura, see?" "Of course not." Yang Dingtian said, "I only used the mystic flame to explode a 1,000-year demon core, and there wasn't much mystic chi left in the demon core. However, the effect of the explosion was still shocking, and it looked exactly the same as self-detonating your aura, see? However, you were afraid of death, so you immediately ran far away." Yang Zheng looked at his bare wrist and said coldly, "What did you inject into my right hand? Why did it drain my mystic chi so quickly? Aren't you familiar with this thing?" Yang Dingtian sneered. "You should be very clear about what kind of poison you used on Yen Yen back then." Instantly, Yang Zheng's expression changed drastically as he looked at his own palm in horror. Of course, Yang Zheng knew what kind of poison it was. Although it wasn't a poison, it was definitely one of the top poisons in the world, and there was no antidote in this world. A few 100,000 kilograms of celestial Red Sea's water condensed into a dark crystal, and it was enough to make anyone's face change color. However, as long as that thing enters your body, it won't devour your cultivation. You're too decisive. Just because you felt your energy being devoured, you immediately cut off your right hand. You're ruthless to others, but you're even more ruthless to yourself." Yang Dingtian laughed. Of course, he wouldn't tell Yang Dingtian that he didn't even need to cut off his right hand. Yang Dingtian only used the darkness mystic flame to devour his energy. However, this devouring could be stopped at any time, and it wouldn't harm Yang Zheng's cultivation at all. This was because the darkness mystic flame was too weak right now. However, Yang Zheng was too familiar with the darkness mystic crystal. When he felt his cultivation being drained, he immediately thought of the darkness mystic crystal. Thinking that the darkness mystic crystal had already entered his arm, he cut off his hand almost instantly. At this moment, Yang Zheng still had time to pick up his severed hand and reattach it. However, Yang Dingtian would never tell him that it was the darkness mystic flame. He would always make him think that there was a darkness mystic crystal in his severed hand. Then, Yang Zheng would never dare to reattach his hand's severed hand, and he would lose his right hand forever. That's right, Yang Dingtian currently had less than 10% of his profound energy remaining. Even if he ignited his Qi Si to fight with Yang Zheng, the only result would be the explosion of his Qi Si. Burning his sea of Qi could only be considered as icing on the cake. If he wanted to completely burn his sea of Qi to fight, he would be seeking his own death. Therefore, Yang Dingtian burned a small portion of his Qi Si to create momentum, filling the sky with mystic fire. Then, he took out a demonic core from Mars that had almost exhausted all its energy and injected it into the mystic flame to ignite it. Together with the mystic flame, it created a dazzling and shocking explosion effect, which made Yang Zheng mistakenly think that Yang Dingtian had detonated his sea of Qi. Yang Dingtian was a martial honorable. Once he detonated his Qi Si, the nearby Yang Zheng would definitely die. At this moment, Yang Zheng was obviously unwilling to perish together with Yang Dingtian. Of course, he had to escape at full speed. At this moment, Yang Dingtian released the darkness profound flame and injected it into Yang Zheng's sharp sword. The darkness profound flame instinctively devoured any energy. At that time, Yang Zheng was running for his life. All of his vision and mind were focused on Yang Dingtian's self-detonation. He felt his right hand's cultivation rapidly flowing away. In his shock, he immediately thought that this was the darkness crystal. In this world, the person who knew the most about the darkness crystal and feared it the most was definitely Yang Zheng. Therefore, in his extreme fear, he chopped off his right hand at the first moment. As for his shattered sword, it was naturally because of the clash with Yang Dingtian's soul sword. His ancient famed sword was smashed into pieces as expected. Therefore, in this battle, Yang Dingtian originally did not have the slightest chance of winning. But Yang Dingtian still won, and it was much easier than the battle with Shiman knew. Of course, the price was that Yang Dingtian's chest was ruthlessly slashed by Yang Zheng's sword ray. Even though this sword ray was weakened by a lot after passing through Yang Dingtian's soul sword and was buffered by the deep sea Xian robe, it finally entered Yang Dingtian's body. Otherwise, Yang Dingtian would have been directly cut into two. Even with the soul sword and deep sea Xian robe buffering, if it was the previous Yang Dingtian, all of his profound veins would have been broken, and his internal organs would have been completely crushed. Even though Yang Dingtian had 9 Yang profound veins, he was still unable to withstand the damage of Yang Dingtian's 6-star revered martial artist's sword ray. After his profound veins were completely shattered, his profound qi energy would continue to crush Yang Dingtian's internal organs. However, after the transformation of Naga's purple profound veins and the nourishment of the Naga royalty's profound qi, although it could not raise the grade of Yang Dingtian's profound veins, it was enough to make Yang Dingtian's profound veins incomparably tough, to the point that he could withstand Yang Dingtian's shocking attack. However, even so, Yang Dingtian's entire chest had completely lost all feeling, as if it was not his own body at all. He clearly knew that he was seriously injured. He took out a holy water pill from his spatial ring and consumed it, but he could not sit cross-legged to adjust his breathing. He still had to stand with his sword, like a flagpole. At this moment, the crowd gradually woke up from their shock. Then, there was a tsunami of cheers, cheers like a storm, cheers that no one could suppress. No one could have predicted this result. After the explosion of white light that was like the end of the world, everyone thought that Yang Dingtian had self-destructed. Everyone thought that Yang Dingtian was dead for sure. Everyone was incomparably shocked and incomparably sad as they watched the curtain fall on a legend. However, who would have thought that after the white light dissipated, not only did Yang Dingtian not die, but he was also standing there, perfectly fine. As for his opponent, Yang Zheng, he was thrown out of the arena. His body was in a mess, his sword was broken, and his right hand was chopped off. Anyone with eyes could clearly see that Yang Dingtian had won. Even though they had no idea how Yang Dingtian had won, was it important? It was not important at all. What was important was that Yang Dingtian had won. Of course, they did not know that as long as Yang Zheng returned to the arena, he could crush Yang Dingtian with a finger. Yang Zheng, I won, Yang Dingtian said again. Yang Zheng's gaze trembled, and countless complicated emotions flashed through his eyes. The cold killing intent in his eyes constantly changed. Of course, he was very clear that as long as he went up, he could easily kill Yang Dingtian. However, once he did that, he would never be able to become the Lord of Cloud Sky City. He would become the disgrace of martial arts in the world. Immediately, Yang Zheng's gaze turned to Qin Huayu and Yang Yan. At this moment, the arena was still filled with tsunami-like cheers. Yang Yan's face was ferocious as his expression constantly changed. Obviously, he was also making a choice in his heart. Should he kill Yang Dingtian? If he did not kill him, he could only watch as Yang Dingtian became the new Lord of Cloud Sky City. If he killed him, the Yang clan would become the public enemy of martial arts in the world. After years of purging by Shimen Wuya, the Yang clan only had one hope left, Yang Zheng. Yang Yan could sacrifice Shimen Nu and Shimen Ju without hesitation, but he could not sacrifice Yang Zheng. Yang Zheng was his only hope. If Yang Zheng killed Yang Dingtian now, Yang Zheng would be completely finished. In the end, he came to the conclusion that Yang Dingtian could not be killed. At least for now, he absolutely could not kill him. However, to let Yang Dingtian become the Lord of Cloud Sky City, he would rather die than be willing. For today, he had planned for more than 10 years. Today was the closest time for the Yang clan to take back the Lord of Cloud Sky City. Suddenly, Yang Yan could not help but look at Qin Huayu, hoping that Qin Huayu had the ability to reverse the situation. Qin Huayu was the one who had placed all his hopes on Qin Huayu. Qin Huayu stared coldly at Yang Dingtian, his eyes filled with coldness and jealousy. He really did not expect that the real million-spirit demon fire would fall into Yang Dingtian's hands. What kind of danger was this? If Yang Dingtian had obtained the million-spirit demon fire, then what exactly was the mystic flame that Dongfang Bingling had obtained? Of course, the mystic flame was not something to consider now. Now, Qin Huayu had to make a choice. Should he choose to destroy Yang Dingtian here? Did he have a trump card to reverse the situation? Of course, he did. He could even beat Yang Dingtian down to the 18th level of hell. Because among everyone present, only he knew that Yang Dingtian was the fake hidden sect disciple, Wu Ming. This was undoubtedly a trump card that was enough to completely destroy Yang Dingtian. Impersonating the hidden sect disciple was the world's biggest crime. Once it was announced, there would be no place for Yang Dingtian in the world. However, the choice that Qin Huayu was facing now was whether to announce this matter or not. Of course, it was not that he could not bear to destroy Yang Dingtian. If it was possible, he wished that he could dismember Yang Dingtian into pieces right now. The reason why he hesitated was because this trump card was too big. Once it was announced that the hidden sect disciple was Wu Ming, he would lose the chance to impersonate the hidden sect disciple in the future. That's right. Ever since he knew that the hidden sect disciple, Wu Ming, was impersonating Yang Dingtian, Qin Cheng had a plan. Qin Cheng had a strategy, which was to nurture a fake John Doe and use the hidden sect's disciple as a strategic trump card. Once Qin Cheng fell into a passive situation in the Taekwondo League, he only needed to use the hidden sect disciple as his trump card. Qin Cheng could be said to be invincible and could almost overcome any difficulties in the Taekwondo League. Once it was revealed that Yang Dingtian was impersonating the hidden sect disciple, the fake Wu Ming that Qin Cheng had prepared would be completely useless. This way, the loss would be too great. In order to destroy Yang Dingtian, it was not worth it to lose one of Qin Cheng's greatest trump cards. Taking a deep breath, Qin Huayu looked at Yang Dingtian and thought to himself, I'll let you be proud for a few days and let you enjoy being the Lord of Cloud Sky City for a few days. Suddenly, Qin Huayu said to the Sky Phoenix Pavilion Master you are the highest leader today. You should announce the final result. The Sky Phoenix Pavilion Master glanced at Qin Huayu with a cold face. Her attitude was very cold and disdainful, with a hint of hostility. Then, she said to Yang Yan, this is Cloud Sky City's internal affairs. You can announce it yourselves. We are just bystanders. Obviously, as the Northwest leader of the Taekwondo League, she was not willing to give Yang Dingtian face. She was not willing to praise Yang Dingtian, so she was not willing to announce the final result. Yang Yan stood up helplessly. Before he could speak, the tsunami-like square instantly fell into silence. Everyone stared at Yang Yan's mouth, waiting for his final announcement. Yang Yan said loudly, on behalf of Cloud Sky City's Elders Guild, the Cloud Sky City Lord, the Martial Arts Arbitration Council, announces that the martial arts competition is valid. The final winner is Yang Dingtian. Then, Yang Yan's face turned pale. He took a deep breath and said, I announce that the new Cloud Sky City Lord is Yang Dingtian. Although his heart was filled with unwillingness and hostility, Yang Yan still shouted this name. Long live! Just as Yang Yan's voice fell, the square, which had just quieted down, was suddenly filled with even crazier cheers and even crazier cheers. Long live Yang Dingtian! Long live Lord Yang! Long live Cloud Sky City! Yang Dingtian's troops were crazily using their swords to hit their armor. Countless people were crazily cheering. The entire Cloud Sky City was in a frenzy, drowning out Yang Yan's voice. Yang Yan said coldly, the ascension ceremony of the Cloud Sky City Lord will take place in 9 days. I announce that the martial arts contest for the position of City Lord has officially ended. There were cheers and tsunamis everywhere. Yang Dingtian raised his sword high and waved at the cheering crowd. At this moment, although the sun had already set, everyone present could faintly feel that Yang Dingtian's body was covered in a layer of golden light. Everyone could faintly feel that a new era had begun. Amidst the cheers of countless people, Yang Dingtian slowly walked down the battle stage and walked towards Yan Yan. From afar, Yan Yan reached out her small hand. Let's go, I'll bring you home. Yang Dingtian held Yan Yan's small hand and walked towards her small loft. Countless people present looked at the celestial couple, Yang Dingtian and his wife, with envy and blessings. Wherever the two of them passed, everyone automatically opened up a path. They smiled and waved as they walked. Yang Dingtian brought Yan Yan to her small loft. Entering the small loft, there were no traces of anyone living inside, but it was still very clean and tidy. It should be cleaned every day. Entering the boudoir, Yang Dingtian said softly, "Baby, I've finally brought you home." After saying that, a mouthful of blood gushed out. "Husband." Yan Yan whispered and lifted the clothes on Yang Dingtian's chest. Suddenly, tears gushed out. Yang Dingtian's chest had countless cracks that were so deep that the bones could be seen. Even the internal organs inside could be seen. Yan Yan cried loudly. She reached out to touch but did not dare to. She knew that Yang Dingtian was injured, but she did not know that his injuries were so serious. After suffering such a shocking injury, Yang Dingtian still persevered until now. Along the way, he calmly waved to everyone. Yang Dingtian was really too powerful. Although the last attack was interrupted, and with the soul sword and deep sea Xian clothes cushioning it, Yang Dingtian still suffered such a terrible injury. "I'm fine." Yang Dingtian smiled and then immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and began to dissolve the medicinal power of the holy water to heal his injuries. "Baby, wake me up in 4 hours." Then, Yang Dingtian closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing. 4 hours later, although Yan Yan was extremely reluctant, she still woke Yang Dingtian up. Yang Dingtian opened his eyes. After 2 hours of adjustment, the energy of the holy water permeated his body. Yang Dingtian finally felt better. Although he was still covered in scars, it was not as scary as before. Through the wounds, one could see the internal organs and bones inside. However, his cultivation was still less than 30%. This time, Yang Dingtian's injuries were too serious. If he wanted to completely recover, even with the holy water, it would take at least a few days. "Baby, change my clothes. Let's go to tonight's banquet together," Yang Dingtian said. "Okay." Yan Yan wiped her tears and said softly. Then, Yan Yan very gently wiped Yang Dingtian's body with the 1,000 silk snow brocade dipped in the medicinal water. Then, she wrapped all the scars on his body tightly and finally put on a golden robe. This golden robe was Shimin Wuya's. It was the Cloud Heaven City Lord's robe. After putting it on, Yang Dingtian looked imposing and handsome. Then, Yan Yan also changed into a purple dress. This dress was originally worn by Madame Shimin. It was the city lord's wife's dress. After dressing up, Yang Dingtian held Yan Yan's hand and slowly walked out of the loft and back to the plaza. "Long live! Long live City Lord Yang Dingtian!" Just as they entered the plaza, Yang Dingtian received countless cheers from the crowd. At this time, the sky was already completely dark. In the plaza, there were bonfires everywhere. There was good wine everywhere, and there was delicious food everywhere. Here, all the basic warriors were having a bonfire party to celebrate the birth of the Cloud Heaven City Lord. Yang Dingtian passed through the plaza and arrived at the central castle of Cloud Heaven City. Here, it was brightly lit. There was good wine everywhere, and there were lights everywhere. Countless beautiful maids were shuttling back and forth. All the VIPs would be attending the banquet in the central castle. And as the Cloud Heaven City Lord, Yang Dingtian was the host of tonight's banquet. In the banquet hall on the first floor of the central castle, all the guests were the sect masters of the various forces in Yang Dingtian's territory. These people were all Yang Dingtian's subordinates. Within the 1,000 miles of Cloud Heaven City's territory, there were about 30 forces of various sizes. The largest was like the Metal Sword Fort, which had about 200 miles of territory. The smallest was like the Heavenly Thunder sect, which only had about 2 to 3 miles of territory. All the sect masters of these forces, including their heirs, were present. There were more than 100 people in the banquet hall on the first floor. As their master, Yang Dingtian had to kneel down and greet Yang Dingtian and Yan Yan when they saw Yang Dingtian and Yan Yan. However, after Yang Dingtian walked in holding Yan Yan's hand, there was only a slight silence inside, and then some of the sect masters wanted to kneel down and greet them. However, seeing that the sect masters of the leading forces did not move, they also stood in place. Suddenly, the hall was silent, and it seemed a little awkward. Many of the subordinates present did not know how to treat Yang Dingtian. The metal sword fort master shouted, "What's wrong? Why did you stop? Continue drinking." In his words, he actually turned a blind eye to Yang Dingtian. Without a doubt, this was an extreme contempt for Yang Dingtian. Then, the metal sword fort master continued to pull the sect masters to drink and play rock-paper-scissors, as if the Cloud Heaven City Lord, Yang Dingtian, did not exist. Yanyan's face turned cold, and she was about to fly into a rage. Yang Dingtian held her little hand gently, still wearing a smile, and walked toward the banquet hall on the second floor. The banquet hall on the second floor was where the real VIPs were. The sect masters and elders of the various forces in the northwest mainland were all in the banquet hall on the second floor. Yang Dingtian smiled as he entered the hall on the second floor. An enchanting fragrance wafted over, followed by a hoarse and sexy voice. "City Lord Yang Dingtian, it's been a long time. Should I call you Yang Dingtian, or should I call you by another name?" The stunningly beautiful and enchanting Qin Mingli walked over leisurely and spoke in a gentle voice. Yanyan's delicate body trembled, and her expression changed. Chapter 349. Yang Dingtian's slap was very heavy. 5 fingerprints appeared on Dugu Fengwu's face, and half of her face quickly swelled up. This demon woman's cultivation might have regressed, but she was still much stronger than Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's slap was just an ordinary one, and he didn't use any mystic qi. Dugu Fengwu could have easily dodged it, but she wasn't able to and was slapped by Yang Dingtian. Dugu Fengwu's beautiful eyes shot out a look of disbelief, followed by bone-deep hatred. Fresh blood slowly flowed down from the corner of her mouth. "Yang Dingtian, you dare to hit me?" Dugu Fengwu said coldly, "I will let you know the price of this slap. I will make you beg for death, and I will make you regret this slap in the face even after you die. Get lost." Yang Dingtian said coldly. Dugu Fengwu stared deeply at Yang Dingtian and said word by word, 9 days later, your ascension ceremony will be the day of your death. You will beg for death, but you won't be able to. You will fall into the 18 levels of hell." Finishing her statement, Dugu Fengwu's delicate body suddenly floated into the sky and flew towards the northwest. Yang Dingtian looked at Dugu Fengwu's departing figure, and his mood instantly became extremely complicated. The previous Dugu Fengwu might not be like a woman, being vicious and decisive, but she was still rather adorable. But the current Dugu Fengwu had completely changed. All her previous traits were gone, and even her pride was completely gone. Until Dugu Fengwu disappeared from his sight, Yang Dingtian flew into the sky and returned to Cloud Heaven City. For the entire night, Yang Dingtian didn't sleep and had been recuperating. The next morning, Yang Dingtian opened his eyes, and the sun shone in through the window. "Young Lord, Qin Huayu requests for an audience." At this moment, Mu Lianyi walked in. Mu Lianyi lived in the attic as a maid. Despite being a maid, she still wore tight leather clothes, looking sexy and fit. "Let him wait. I'll go out and meet him," Yang Dingtian said. Under Mu Lianyi's service, Yang Dingtian finished washing up and changed into a snow-white robe. He even accompanied Yan Yan to have breakfast. Regardless of whether Qin Huayu was impatient or not, by the time Yang Dingtian went to see Qin Huayu, more than 2 hours had already passed. "Yang Dingtian, your profound flame, your cultivation, everything about you is incomparably stunning," Qin Huayu said with a smile. At this moment, the two of them were on the highest floor of the central castle. There were only the two of them in the entire central castle. Yang Dingtian replied faintly. 9 days later, it will be your ascension ceremony." Qin Huayu laughed and said, "It is truly incomparably difficult for you to reach this step. No matter which step you took, it was filled with killing intent. You actually made it all the way here. I am truly amazed. Let's get straight to the point." Yang Dingtian went straight to the point and said, "What do you want?" Qin Huayu said, "You should know that Dugu Fengwu gave me 2 reflection jades, and they have the scene of you and Dugu Aoshuang getting married. This should cause you to lose all standing and reputation, and you will die without a burial ground. All along, Yang Yen has been slandering you as an infiltrator of evil ways, but there was no evidence. Now that the evidence is conclusive, you won't be able to clear your name even if you jump into the Yellow River." Hearing Qin Huayu's words, Yang Dingtian wasn't surprised at all. He just laughed and said, "Qin Huayu, the one who colluded with evil ways is you. The reality is truly speechless." "That's right. The reality is often black and white. But what can we do?" Qin Huayu said. Immediately after, Qin Huayu looked at Yang Dingtian with a serious expression and said, "Yang Dingtian, I don't have to use this trump card. I can even give you these 2 reflection jades. I can allow you to successfully ascend to the position of Cloud Heaven City Lord during the Ascension ceremony." "What are the conditions?" Yang Dingtian asked. "That soul sword of yours." Qin Huayu went straight to the point and said, "I don't know how you forged it, but I know that your soul sword is unparalleled. As long as you give me that soul sword, I won't let you lose all standing and reputation, and I will even allow you to ascend to the position of Cloud Heaven City Lord." "Impossible." Yang Dingtian said coldly, "Furthermore, my soul sword has already recognized its master. It is useless even if I give it to you." Qin Huayu revealed a greedy gaze and said, "Then you don't have to bother. Either you give me the soul sword, or you lose all standing and reputation and die without a burial ground." "Impossible." Yang Dingtian said, "Change your conditions." "I don't have any other conditions. I just want your soul sword." Qin Huayu said, "Furthermore, this condition is valid for 9 days. The Ascension ceremony is the final deadline. If you don't hand over the soul sword, I will announce that you are the son-in-law of Evil Ways Dugu Shao." Then, Qin Huayu walked out. "Yang Dingtian, I will be in Cloud Heaven City for the next few days. If you change your mind, you can look for me anytime." After returning to Yanyan's small building, Yang Dingtian didn't tell everyone about this matter. But he didn't hide it from Yanyan and told her everything clearly. After Yanyan heard everything, her beautiful eyes stared at Yang Dingtian and suddenly said, "Husband, that demonic woman Dugu Fengwu must have fallen in love with you. It's just that she can't accept this kind of feeling, so she displayed a bone-deep hatred. This isn't important. The important thing is that this crazy woman only wants to destroy me and gave Qin Huayu my weakness." Yang Dingtian said. Yanyan said, "In fact, the one who colluded with the evil ways is Northwest Qin City and Qin Huayu. Why don't we make a move first and expose this scandal?" Before she finished speaking, Yanyan stuck out her tongue. She clearly knew that this method of hers was useless. "I don't have any evidence, and no one will believe me." Yang Dingtian said, "But Qin Huayu has solid evidence. Can we think of a way to kill him without any suspicion?" Yanyan asked. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "Firstly, Qin Huayu is stronger than Yang Zheng. Among all of us, no one is his match. Secondly, he always has a master-level expert by his side. Lastly, many of the experts from the Tiando League are still in Cloud Sky City. We can't find any chance." In fact, Yang Dingtian was already considered the Lord of Cloud Sky City. However, 80% of Cloud Sky City was currently in the hands of Yang Yen and the others. Yang Dingtian only controlled a small part of it. "Oh right, husband, the tens of thousands of warriors from the various factions have all returned today," Yanyan said, "but the leaders of the various factions are still in Cloud Sky City. They are preparing to participate in the City Lord Ascension ceremony in 9 days. Because they saw tens of thousands of warriors supporting me, they chased all the warriors back in order to weaken my momentum and to prevent us from kidnapping the public opinion. The thousands of high-level warriors who stayed behind are basically enemies with us because of Northwest Qin City. At the very least, they have a cold relationship with us," Yang Dingtian said. "That's right." Yang Dingtian's power in Cloud Sky City was still very weak. It could even be said that he was surrounded by enemies. Why don't we make a deal with Qin Huayu? Yan Yan said, he definitely has something he really wants. We can trade for that recovery jade with him. Qin Huayu only wants one thing, and that is Cloud Sky City. Yang Dingtian said, we can't afford it. Before his greed is dispelled, he won't really make a deal with us. That's right. Qin Huayu only wanted Cloud Sky City. Qin Chichi wanted the southwest continent, while Qin Huayu wanted the northwest continent. This involved who would control the northwest Qin city in the future, so Qin Huayu would definitely not let it go. Then what should we do? Is there no other way? Yan Yan said, why don't we lead the army out of Cloud Sky City and enter the Sunset Mountain Range to rule over it and look forward to a comeback in the future? If I lead everyone out of Cloud Sky City because of this matter, then I will never be able to return. Everyone's hearts will be broken because their city lord is a coward who runs away without fighting, Yang Dingtian said. Then is there really no other way? Can we only watch as Qin Huayu destroys us? Yan Yan said, can we only watch as you are slandered as an infiltrator of evil ways and be hunted down by everyone in the world? There is a way, Yang Dingtian said. What way? Yan Yan hurriedly asked. Go and see someone, Yang Dingtian said. 2 hours later, Yang Dingtian came to the VIP pavilion and asked to see Ling Ao from Yinyang School. Although there was another Master Realm Elder from Yinyang School, Yang Dingtian felt that it was more appropriate to find Ling Ao for this matter. Even in the comfortable room, Ling Ao was still dressed in a snow-white robe, not a hair out of place. His robe was whiter than snow, and he was cold and handsome. Not many people in the world could compare to his handsomeness. On the surface, he and Dongfang Bingling looked like a perfect couple. When Yang Dingtian came in, Ling Ao was still cultivating with his eyes closed. It was obvious that Yang Dingtian's visit had surprised him. However, from the frown on his face, he did not welcome Yang Dingtian's visit. In fact, he was even very uncomfortable. Greetings, Senior Ling Ao, Yang Dingtian said. What's the matter? Ling Ao asked. I would like to invite Junior Dongfang Bingling to attend the City Lord's coronation ceremony in 9 days, Yang Dingtian said. I have a letter here, and I would like Senior Ling Ao to pass it to Junior Dongfang Bingling. Instantly, Ling Ao's face turned cold. He stared at Yang Dingtian like an arrow and said coldly, impossible. Yang Dingtian said, why not? If I'm not wrong, Junior Dongfang should be in the northwest continent right now, right? Ling Ao stared at Yang Dingtian and said slowly, Yang Dingtian, it's important to know one's own limits. Ling Ao then said, perhaps because your cultivation has improved by leaps and bounds, you feel that you're very different from a year ago. In fact, whether it's in my eyes or Junior Dongfang's eyes, your weight and role haven't changed at all. Us coming to Cloud Heaven City to watch the ceremony has nothing to do with you. It's just a few hundred years of etiquette. No matter who wins the Grand Martial competition, we will all be here to watch the ceremony. Do you understand what I'm saying? At this moment, Ling Ao no longer hid the disgust and disdain in his eyes. At this moment, Yang Dingtian was already a martial honorable. Ling Ao obviously didn't care about him. His disdain came from Yang Dingtian's identity as a commoner. He also thought of Dongfang Bingling as a toad. Yang Dingtian looked at Ling Ao for a long time. Then, he bowed and said, goodbye. That night, Yang Dingtian used the empty spirit wings and flew a few thousand meters into the sky. He flew towards the Katkin Villa in the southeast direction. According to the words of the Earth Era, the Katkin Villa was equivalent to the Yinyang School's office and embassy in the northwest continent. Normally, when Dongfang Bingling was in the northwest continent, she would stay there. Even if she wasn't there, the people in the Katkin Villa would have a way to contact Dongfang Bingling. In less than 2 hours, Yang Dingtian was already in the sky above the Katkin Villa. The Katkin Villa, which covered thousands of acres, had been turned into a pile of ruins because of the war more than a year ago. When he looked down, it had returned to its beautiful appearance. There were countless pavilions and beautiful gardens. In just a year, the villa had been completely rebuilt. There were no traces of ruins. After landing on the ground, Yang Dingtian, who had disguised himself, knocked on the door. "It's getting late. Leave your name card and come again tomorrow." The arrogant voice of the gatekeeper came from inside. Even a random gatekeeper of the Inyang school was arrogant. Yang Dingtian didn't say anything. He passed a piece of paper through the crack of the door. There was a very, very special pattern on the paper. This pattern would change every day. It was one of the top secrets of the Inyang school. There were two patterns on the paper that Yang Dingtian passed in. One of them was a pattern that changed every day. It represented a top secret identity. Obviously, the gatekeeper didn't recognize it. However, there was another pattern that represented a normal secret identity. The gatekeeper recognized it. When the gatekeeper received the pattern, Yang Dingtian could clearly hear him holding his breath. Then, the door opened. The gatekeeper bowed and didn't dare to look up. He said in a low voice, "Greetings, sir. I want to see your villa master." Yang Dingtian said calmly. "Yes, please follow me." The gatekeeper didn't refuse and led the way. Although he didn't recognize the other mysterious pattern, he knew that the person in front of him had a very mysterious and high status in the Inyang school. His level of secrecy was even higher than that of the Katkin Villa's villa master. Soon, Yang Dingtian met the villa master of the Katkin Villa, Lu Sanbian, in a secret pavilion in the water. Similarly, this person was also the most important person in the Inyang school in the northwest mainland. When Yang Dingtian entered, Lu Sanbian's back was facing him. He said calmly, "What's the matter? Speak." "Villa master, please take a look at my identification first," Yang Dingtian said. Then, he handed over a piece of white paper with a mysterious pattern. Lu Sanbian turned around. This person was an elegant and handsome middle-aged man. His face was like jade, and his small beard made him look even more charming. He impatiently took the paper that Yang Dingtian had drawn with a special pattern. Suddenly, his expression changed. This was the Inyang school's highest secret letter symbol. It represented the highest level of information. Once such information appeared, Lu Sanbian had to deliver it at all costs, even if it meant losing his life. "May I know what your orders are?" Lu Sanbian asked. "I want to see Miss Dongfang Bingling. I have something to report. Please inform her," Yang Dingtian said. Lu Sanbian said, "But, Miss Dongfang is not in the Katkin Villa." "Then where is she? Bring me to her," Yang Dingtian said. "I don't know about that. No one dares to ask about Miss Dongfang's whereabouts. Other than the time when she went to the northwest Qin city to attend the wedding, she stayed at Katkin Villa for a day and never came again," Lu Sanbian said. Yang Dingtian was stunned. If Dongfang Bingling did not return to the Katkin Villa, then where did she go? Yang Dingtian frowned and said, "I'm almost certain that Miss Dongfang Bingling is in the northwest mainland right now. I have an important letter that needs to be delivered to her within 7 days. It's very important. Do you have a way?" Lu Sanbian frowned and said, "Are you sure Miss Dongfang is in the northwest mainland?" Yang Dingtian was not completely sure, but he was 80% sure. According to his understanding of Dongfang Bingling, it had been about 10 days since she came to the northwest mainland. She should not have left. "I'm sure," Yang Dingtian said. "I'll use all the Inyang school's secret strongholds in the northwest mainland. I'll use thousands of crows and thousands of spies. I should be able to find Miss Dongfang within 7 days." Lu Sanbian said, "But, are you sure you want to use these secret strongholds? The price will be very high." He only asked Yang Dingtian if he wanted to use them, not if Yang Dingtian had the authority to use them. Without a doubt, Yang Dingtian had the power to activate these secret strongholds. Because, to be able to draw the highest level secret diagram, it represented one's status and authority. Yes. Lu Sanbian said, I'll immediately give the order. Do you need to wait in the villa? I can't wait here. I'll give you the letter. When Miss Dongfang Bingling returns to the Katkin villa, you can pass it to her. Yang Dingtian then took out a crystal-clear jade slip. This jade slip, if placed on earth, was completely superior to glass-type jadeite. It was as clear as water and even purer than water. At first glance, there was nothing on this jade slip. In fact, Yang Dingtian's letter had been written on the jade slip using a special mystical energy. If one wanted to read it, they had to use a special mystical energy to infuse the jade slip. Only then would the words appear. After reading it, the jade slip would shatter into pieces. This jade slip alone cost more than 100 gold coins. It was specially used to transmit the highest level of information. The method to read it is the Yinyang school's highest mystical energy infusing secret. Miss Dongfang knows it. Yang Dingtian said. In the entire Yinyang school, no more than 3 people knew the highest mystical energy infusing secret. Therefore, Yang Dingtian was not worried that the letter on the jade slip would be read by others. At least in the northwest mainland, only Dongfang Bingling could read it. Of course, these Yinyang school's top secrets were all told to him by Dongfang Minmi. This highest level of information transmission method was actually used by Yang Dingtian to write a private letter to Dongfang Bingling. Lu Sanbian respectfully took the jade slip and carefully placed it in his pocket. He then bowed and said, I'll go and activate all the crows and spies. Goodbye. Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yang Dingtian walked out of the small building and flew into the sky in the dark. He flew back in the direction of Cloud Sky City. Time passed day by day. Finally, 8 days had passed. Yang Dingtian City Lord Ascension ceremony was about to arrive. Chapter 350. In these few days, Qin Huayu didn't come to find Yang Dingtian. Of course, Yang Dingtian didn't go to find Qin Huayu either. Both sides were in a stalemate. Yang Dingtian didn't even appear in these few days. For the first 3 days, he had been healing. For the next 5 days, Yang Dingtian had been cultivating, as if Qin Huayu's threat didn't exist. Moreover, there was no news from Dongfang Bingling. The entire Cloud Sky City was in a strange silence. Moreover, because of the departure of a large number of warriors, the fervent support for Yang Dingtian in Cloud Sky City had gradually faded. Then, Yang Yen and Qin Huayu carried out a large number of shifts among the warriors in Cloud Sky City. They transferred a large number of warriors who supported Yang Dingtian to somewhere far away and spread the news of Yang Dingtian's scandals in advance. Suddenly, the voices of support for Yang Dingtian in Cloud Sky City disappeared. Throughout the entire process, Yang Dingtian's side didn't do anything to stop them. The 3,000 to 4,000 warriors under Yang Dingtian's command gradually felt this solemn atmosphere. Suddenly, the joy gradually faded away, and the silence and preparation for war gradually gathered. In the end, these 3,000 to 4,000 warriors even entered a state of battle readiness. They took turns sleeping every day. Even when they slept, they didn't take off their armor and placed their weapons in places where they could easily reach them. In this dangerous atmosphere, time passed day by day. Although many people didn't know that after Yang Dingtian obtained victory in the Grand Martial competition, the situation became even more dangerous. On the night before the enthronement ceremony, Qin Huayu finally made a big move. An army of close to 10,000 people rushed over from all directions. Although this army raised Cloud Sky City's flag and wore Cloud Sky City's armor, this army had almost nothing to do with Cloud Sky City. It was the armed forces of the Northwest Qin City that had long been hidden in Cloud Sky City's territory. In the past 1.5 years, Cloud Sky City's 1,000 miles of territory had been infiltrated by the Northwest Qin City. Without a doubt, Qin Huayu had already revealed his true intentions. Even though there were hundreds of experts from the Taiyando League, and even if Yang Dingtian had more than 3,000 samurai and 4 honorable martial artists, his chances of turning the tables were 0. However, in order to create an imposing aura, Qin Huayu still mobilized nearly 10,000 warriors to surround and suppress Yang Dingtian's army of 3,000. After completing the absolute suppression, Qin Huayu finally spoke again. On the night before the enthronement ceremony, Yang Dingtian, who was meditating, welcomed his first guest. Yang Dingtian would never have thought that this guest would actually be Shiminju, who had changed beyond recognition. At this moment, Shiminju was truly beyond recognition. The skin of his entire body was completely burnt. There were only 7 holes left on his face. His nose, ears, and lips were completely burned. As for his eyes, only 2 terrifying holes remained. He really looked like a devil that had crawled out from hell. Even Yang Dingtian was startled by it. Although the original Shiminju couldn't be considered handsome, his current appearance was truly enough to scare people to death. After Shiminju entered, he didn't reveal any hatred towards Yang Dingtian. He only glanced at him indifferently. However, with just this glance, Yang Dingtian could feel that under his indifferent gaze, there seemed to be terrifying magma. Furthermore, it was that kind of black-red magma. It looked calm and peaceful, but once the magma erupted, it would destroy everything. Tomorrow is the enthronement ceremony. You still have one last chance. Shiminju said coldly, either you hand over the soul sword or you lose all standing and reputation and die without a burial place. Not only you, but also Shimin, Yan Yan, Yang Peipei, and everyone who follows you will all die without a burial place. Yang Dingtian shrugged his shoulders and ignored him. I don't have enough patience. You have to give me an answer. Will you choose to compromise or bathe Cloud Heaven City in blood tomorrow? Shiminju asked. Yang Dingtian stared at Shiminju and said slowly, you go and tell Qin Huayu to stop dreaming. Shiminju looked at Yang Dingtian for a long time before saying coldly, then, you can wait for tomorrow to bathe Cloud Heaven City in blood. After saying that, Shiminju left immediately. His departure was undoubtedly the beginning of tomorrow's bloody prelude. The next day, the sun had risen. Cloud Heaven City was newly decorated. There were silk banners everywhere and javelin-like warriors everywhere. Cloud Heaven City's grand ceremony was hung with golden decorations. The golden throne in the grand ceremony was also polished. This golden throne of the city lord hadn't been occupied for close to 2 years. Furthermore, this Cloud Heaven Hall's door hadn't been opened for over a year. Ever since Shimin Wuya was no longer around, Cloud Heaven City's meeting location was chosen to be at the Elders' Hall. Today, Cloud Heaven Hall finally opened again. Every inch of space inside was covered with soft carpets. On both sides of the grand ceremony, there were hundreds of seats for the various forces of the Northwest continent. On both sides of the golden throne of the city lord, there were dozens of the most noble seats. These were for the leaders of the various sects of the Tiando League, so the seats weren't below the city lord's golden throne. At this moment, all the seats in the grand hall were already filled. The plaza outside had long been renovated. Rows of warriors stood on the plaza like nails. They were densely packed and there were more than 20,000 of them. Among them, 3,000 warriors were Yang Dingtian's personal army. 10,000 warriors were Cloud Heaven City's warriors, but they were carrying Cloud Heaven City's flag. There were also 10,000 warriors from the Tiando League's northwest branch. More than 20,000 warriors had bright armor, sharp weapons, and fluttering flags. They looked mighty and majestic. On the surface, it looked like Yang Yan and the others had made extreme preparations for this ascension ceremony. All the specifications were at the highest, even far surpassing Shimin Wuya's ascension ceremony 20 years ago. However, Yang Dingtian knew that this was to elevate Yang Dingtian to the highest point and then throw him down. Let Yang Dingtian reach heaven first, then step into hell. The specifications and scene in front of him were no less than the ascension ceremony of a country's king. Even with Cloud Heaven City's forces, they didn't have the ability to hold such a grand ceremony. Just the gold bricks in the grand hall alone were not enough for Cloud Heaven City's treasury. Only the Northwest Qin City had such monstrous gold. The successor of Cloud Heaven City, Yang Dingtian, has arrived. Following a loud shout, a gilded carriage drove into the plaza. Yang Dingtian and Yan Yan wore the most luxurious clothes and sat in the carriage. Then, the carriage passed by rows of soldiers. Before entering the grand hall, Yang Dingtian had to inspect the warriors in the plaza. Of course, the funny thing was, out of the 20,000 soldiers, only 3,000 of them belonged to him. The other 20,000 were all enemies. They were all here to kill him. Yang Dingtian didn't wave at them, didn't say anything, and didn't even stand up. He just expressionlessly passed by the rows of soldiers. And the 20,000 soldiers looked at Yang Dingtian with cold and murderous gazes. Even their hands were holding the hilts of their swords, ready to draw their swords and fight at any time. Soon, Yang Dingtian's carriage drove to the center of the plaza. Here was Yang Dingtian's 3,000 soldiers. When he entered the field of vision of the 3,000 soldiers, Yang Dingtian clearly felt his body heat up. Because countless blazing and resolute gazes were focused on Yang Dingtian's face. Yang Dingtian's 3,000 soldiers were completely surrounded in the center of the plaza. They were all filled with the will to fight to the death. Even their hands were directly holding the hilts of their swords. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian stood up from the carriage and used his profound qi to fix the carriage to the ground. Yang Dingtian suddenly drew his golden soul sword as he looked at his army of over 3,000 soldiers. Long live! Long live! Kill! Yang Dingtian's 3,000 soldiers let out an earth-shaking roar. Immediately, the VIPs in the hall revealed a trace of sarcasm. Of course, looking at the soul sword in Yang Dingtian's hand, their eyes were filled with greed. Courting death. Qin Huayu said coldly. After staring at his army for a few seconds, Yang Dingtian sat back in the carriage. Then, the gilded carriage followed the central axis of the plaza and drove towards the Yunshao Hall. At the bottom of the stairs, the carriage stopped. In front, there were 39 steps. On both sides of the stairs, spear-wielding warriors stood upright like nails. In the middle of the steps, there was a carpet sewn with gold threads. Yang Dingtian held the sword hilt in one hand and Yan Yan in the other, walking up step by step. Soon, the 39 steps were finished. Yang Dingtian walked into the Yunshao Hall and did not stop at all. He did not care about anyone's gaze and directly walked towards the city lord's golden throne. Soon, Yang Dingtian arrived in front of the city lord's golden throne. The city lord's golden throne was very big, like a big couch. It was enough for Yang Dingtian and Yan Yan to sit down. Of course, Shimin and Yan Yan only had the opportunity to sit on this golden throne during the enthronement ceremony. At any other time, this golden throne only belonged to the city lord of Cloud Sky City. This golden throne was personally created by the first city lord of Cloud Sky City, Yang Yunshao, and had been passed down for more than 400 years. The new city lord swears. Suddenly, Yang Yan held up a huge sword made of pure gold with both hands. Of course, this huge sword did not have any battle value. It was only the city lord's sword. Yang Dingtian placed his right hand on the huge golden sword. Yang Dingtian said loudly, "In the name of the two suns and moons, and the chaos below, the new city lord of Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian, swears." Yang Dingtian followed Yang Yan and said word by word, "In the name of the two suns and moons, and the chaos below, the new city lord of Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian, swears. From today onwards, I will lead Cloud Sky City to be forever loyal to the Tiando League, to the justice of heaven and earth, to the faith of yin and yang, to the two suns and moons, and to the god of chaos." Yang Dingtian repeated, "From today onwards, I will lead Cloud Sky City to be forever loyal to the Tiando League, to the justice of heaven and earth, to the faith of yin and yang, to the two suns and moons, and to the god of chaos. From today onwards, I will lead Cloud Sky City to be forever the enemy of evil ways, to be irreconcilable with evil ways, to draw a clear line between us and evil ways, and to eliminate evil ways as our responsibility." When Yang Yan recited this oath, his eyes revealed a strange smile. Qin Huayu, on the other hand, took out an image jade from his sleeve. It contained the image of Yang Dingtian and Dugu Aoshuang from the myriad snow palace getting married. It was irrefutable evidence. Yang Dingtian's gaze turned cold. He increased the pressure on the huge golden sword and slowly said, "From today onwards, I will lead Cloud Sky City to be forever the enemy of evil ways, to be irreconcilable with evil ways, to draw a clear line between us and evil ways, and to eliminate evil ways as our responsibility. From today onwards, I will lead Cloud Sky City to engage in an endless battle and struggle against all forces of evil ways. I will never compromise or give up. If I violate this oath, let me die with 10,000 swords pierced through my heart. Let my 9 generations be exterminated." Yang Yan said word by word. His eyes were filled with incomparable killing intent. In fact, Yang Dingtian could already feel an ice-cold chill permeating through the Grand Hall. Everyone in the Tiando League narrowed their eyes at the same time. Yang Dingtian's eyes focused. Without a doubt, the oath of the city lord didn't have the last few sentences. What about dying with 10,000 swords pierced through his heart? What about exterminating his 9 generations? Those weren't part of the original oath. Qin Huayu and Yang Dingtian had already made up their minds. Not only were they going to kill Yang Dingtian, but they were also going to kill Madame Shimin, Shimin Yanyan, Mu Liansheng, Mu Lianyi, and everyone else who was related to Yang Dingtian. They were going to completely exterminate them. Furthermore, Qin Huayu's gaze towards Yang Dingtian had turned especially cold. Now that things had developed to this stage, even if Yang Dingtian was willing to hand over the soul sword, there was no turning back. Shimin Ju had already said that last night was Yang Dingtian's last chance to compromise. Yang Dingtian said word by word in a loud voice, "From today onwards, I will lead Cloud Sky City to engage in an endless battle and struggle against all forces of evil ways. I will never compromise or give up. If I violate this oath, let me die with 10,000 swords pierced through my heart. Let my 9 generations be exterminated." After finishing the oath, Qin Huayu's face was filled with absolute killing intent. He took out another mirror jade from his sleeve. The arrow had left the bow and couldn't be retrieved. "Bring out the city lord golden seal," Yang Yan shouted. Instantly, 4 warriors carried a jade box over. Then, the 4 Cloud Sky City elders took out their keys and opened the jade box. Yang Yan spat out the Cloud Sky City Lord golden seal. This nearly square-foot golden seal represented the highest authority of the Cloud Sky City Lord. Although it was called a golden seal, the golden color was actually translucent and sparkling. This was because this golden seal was carved from a special and precious crystal. Then, powerful Xian Qi was used to deeply inject the gold into the crystal. Hence, this golden seal revealed a special golden color. "City Lord, receive the seal." Yang Yan presented the golden seal with both hands. Once Yang Dingtian received the seal, everything would be set in stone. Yang Dingtian would truly become the Cloud Sky City Lord. No one would be able to change that. Yang Dingtian took a step forward and placed his hand on the golden seal. Instantly, the entire hall froze. Countless people's gazes were fixed on this golden seal. At this moment, Qin Huayu, who was sneering, had already put the 2 mirror jades together. As long as he injected Xian Qi, the scene of Yang Dingtian and Gudu Aoshuang's marriage would appear in front of everyone. Then, Yang Dingtian's reputation would be ruined and he would die without a burial ground. Furthermore, all of Yang Dingtian's men would die without a burial ground today. Fresh blood would completely wash Cloud Sky City. Yang Dingtian reached out his hand and was about to pick up the golden seal. At this moment, Qin Huayu revealed a sinister smile and shouted, "Wait." Qin Huayu's voice wasn't loud, but it was like a thunderclap. Furthermore, the sound of countless weapons clashing could be heard. Countless martial artists couldn't control themselves and drew their swords. Instantly, everyone's gazes gathered on Qin Huayu. Qin Huayu came down from his seat and said loudly, "Before City Lord Yang Dingtian receives the golden seal, I want everyone to see something first. After speaking, Qin Huayu came to the center of the hall and raised the two mirrored jades high up. At this moment, Shimen Ju was like a ghost as he quickly appeared behind Qin Huayu. They were inseparable, but his gaze was fixed on Yang Dingtian. His gaze was like a venomous snake's. Qin Huayu looked at Shimen Ju with a gentle smile and said softly, "Brother-in-law, don't worry. He is about to die, so he won't dare to be rash." Then, Qin Huayu matched the two mirrored jades together. Immediately after, a red mystic chi gushed out and was about to enter the mirror jades. The scene of Yang Dingtian and Dugu Aoshuang's marriage was about to be displayed in front of everyone. The slaughter was about to begin. Yang Dingtian's reputation was about to be completely ruined. Fresh blood was about to drown the entire Cloud Sky City. The doomsday of Yang Dingtian and his thousands of followers was about to arrive. I will let everyone see clearly if Yang Dingtian is qualified to become the city lord of Cloud Sky City. Qin Huayu sneered. Then, a surge of mystic chi was injected into the mirror jades. Yang Dingtian's mystic chi and mystic fire condensed. He held the soul's sword in his hand and was about to pull it out. In the plaza, all of Yang Dingtian's troops drew their swords in unison. 20,000 enemy warriors in the plaza drew their swords in unison. In an instant, the entire Cloud Sky City was filled with swords and sabers. Killing intent soared to the sky. A great battle was about to erupt. Shimen Ju's body burned fiercely, filled with a soaring battle intent. The moment of destruction was about to arrive. At this moment, a charming and cold fragrance suddenly floated in the air. Then, a peerlessly beautiful figure descended from the sky like a fairy from the 9 heavens. Dongfang Bingling, the world's #1 beauty, the future leader of the Tiando League, the only genius in the past 400 years who had broken through to the martial saint realm, a 20-year-old master realm expert, had descended from the sky. Like an immortal, Shaochen silently landed on the steps outside the firmament palace. She stood quietly on the steps, not making any sound. Her beautiful eyes stared indifferently at Qin Huayu. Suddenly, Qin Huayu's expression changed drastically. His body trembled and his face turned pale, without any trace of blood. Dongfang Bingling did not say a word. She also did not need to say a word. Her appearance here represented her absolute attitude. If Yang Dingtian said that the Northwest Qin city was colluding with the evil ways, no one would believe it and no one would care. However, if Dongfang Bingling said it, it was the truth. There was no need for evidence. Because everyone present had to make a decision. Would they stand on the side of the Yinyang school or the Northwest Qin city? At that time, the Tiando League would be torn apart. Without a doubt, most of the Tiando League forces would stand on the side of the Yinyang school. At that time, it would be an absolute nightmare for the Northwest Qin city. Yang Dingtian looked at Qin Huayu and said indifferently, "Senior brother Qin, what do you want everyone to see?" Endless hatred and unwillingness appeared in Qin Huayu's eyes. Then, it quickly disappeared and was replaced by a smile. "Before City Lord Yang Dingtian obtains the golden seal, please accept this small gift of mine." Then, Qin Huayu handed over 2 pieces of recovery jade with both hands. Yang Dingtian took them. Everything was settled. Dongfang Bingling had only appeared for a moment, but she had already resolved Yang Dingtian's biggest crisis. Chapter 351. After receiving the 2 pieces of jade from Qin Huayu's hands, Yang Dingtian casually put them into his pocket. Then, he grabbed the Castellan's golden seal from Yang Yan's hands and raised it in the air. "Long live! Long live!" Yang Dingtian's several thousand troops cheered loudly. Yang Dingtian had finally become Cloud Sky City's Castellan. Everything was set in stone. Although Yang Yan, Qin Huayu, and the others' faces were extremely ugly, they had no choice but to accept this fact. From today onwards, Yang Dingtian will officially take over the position of Cloud Sky City's Castellan. Grand Elder Yang Yan turned around and bowed towards Yang Dingtian, saying, "Yang Yan, representing the Elder Council, has an audience with Castellan Yang Dingtian. Immediately, under Yang Yan's lead, all the elder council members bowed down in unison. Yang Dingtian sat on the Castellan's golden throne. Seeing his sworn enemy Yang Yan, Tang Buizhao, and the others bowing down in front of him, even though they were unwilling, he still felt a burst of satisfaction in his heart. After the elder council members bowed, Yang Yan shouted, "Let's begin the third event of the enthronement ceremony, the sword-kissing ceremony." The sword-kissing ceremony was for all the leaders of Cloud Sky City's forces to kneel down and express their loyalty to the new Castellan, kneeling down and kissing Yang Dingtian's golden greatsword. Yang Dingtian sat on the Castellan's golden throne, unsheathing the golden greatsword and facing the leaders of Cloud Sky City's forces, waiting for them to kiss the sword and kneel down to express their loyalty. However, Yang Dingtian's sword was placed there, and no one stepped forward to kiss the sword. Yang Dingtian was not in a hurry, and just like that, the stalemate continued. Everyone's gaze fell on the Iron Sword Sect's sect master, Sha Zhen. The Iron Sword Sect was the largest force in Cloud Sky City's territory, and every time the sword-kissing ceremony was held, Sha Zhen would be the first to do so. However, at this time, Sha Zhen was still sitting in his seat, not even raising the corners of his eyes. He directly ignored Yang Dingtian in front of tens of thousands of people. Yang Yan's face turned cold, saying, "Sha Zhen, are you trying to rebel?" Sha Zhen stood up and bowed. "Grand Elder Yang Yan, my Iron Sword clan is loyal to Cloud Heaven City and will never betray you. But I don't want to kneel to the new city lord, and I don't want to kiss the sword. That's not going against the ancestral rules, right?" When Yang Yunshao established Cloud Sky City and conquered a large territory, he once told the feudal lords of these territories that they had to be loyal to the common interests of Cloud Sky City and not to him, the city lord. Of course, this was a long-standing rule of the Primal Chaos continent. Although the forces within the territory were loyal to the sovereign of this large territory, they still maintained their independence. There was no direct command or subordinate relationship. Both parties were just collaborators with a certain degree of subordinate relationship. However, at this moment, Sha Zhen proposed to be loyal to Cloud Sky City instead of Yang Dingtian. Without a doubt, this was the most direct provocation to Yang Dingtian. "Impudent!" Yang Yan shouted. "City Lord Yang Dingtian is Cloud Sky City, and Cloud Sky City is Yang Dingtian. What are your intentions for separating the two?" Sha Zhen stood up and looked at Yang Yan. "The new city lord's prestige and experience are not enough. It is difficult for us to be convinced. I will not rebel, but if you want me to kneel and kiss the sword, I will not comply." Then, Sha Zhen directly pulled out his sword and handed the hilt over. He stretched his neck and said, "Grand Elder Yang Yan, if you feel that I am going against the ancestral rules, then cut off my head." Instantly, there was an extremely awkward silence. Yang Dingtian's eyes narrowed. He glanced at Sha Zhen and ignored him. Then, he immediately looked away and continued to hold the golden sword, waiting for the others to come forward and kiss the sword. However, none of the feudal lords present stepped forward. Yang Dingtian's people were instantly infuriated. These feudal vassals actually left Yang Dingtian hanging in the cold in front of everyone. In the square, more than 3,000 warriors' eyes were spitting fire as they held on to the hilts of their swords. As long as Yang Dingtian gave the order, they would rush forward and chop these feudal lords into minced meat. At this moment, someone finally stepped forward and knelt in front of Yang Dingtian. Then, he kissed the golden sword in his hand. "Rose Villa swears allegiance to Cloud Sky City, swears allegiance to City Lord Yang Dingtian." It was still Rose Villa's Li Zhongjian who went against the will of the feudal lords. He knelt down and kissed the sword, declaring his allegiance to Yang Dingtian. However, by doing so, he would undoubtedly offend all the feudal lords in Cloud Sky City. He would definitely be ostracized by them. One had to know that Yang Dingtian still did not have control over Cloud Sky City, let alone Cloud Sky City's thousands of miles of territory. Perhaps after this, Rose Villa would be attacked by others. This was because Qin Huayu's gaze towards Li Zhongjian had become extremely terrifying. As for the feudal lords in Cloud Sky City, their gazes towards Rose Villa were also filled with coldness. After Rose Villa's Li Zhongjian retreated, no other feudal lord came forward to kiss the sword and swear their allegiance. During the enthronement ceremony, among all the feudal lords, only Rose Villa had declared their allegiance to Yang Dingtian. The feudal lords in Cloud Sky City had used their own performance to ruthlessly slap Yang Dingtian in the face. Following this, there were still a few events in the enthronement ceremony. However, because of the indifference between both sides, all the ceremonies were carried out indifferently and ended in awkwardness. As a result, the enthronement ceremony was shortened by almost half of the original plan. Originally, the ceremony was supposed to last until nightfall. However, Yang Dingtian's enthronement ceremony ended in the afternoon. That afternoon, no one had eaten anything. As a result, there would be a larger banquet in the evening. However, after the ceremony ended, the distinguished guests of the Tiando League's Northwest branch all left. They did not even plan to attend the banquet that night. Following this, all the feudal lords in Cloud Sky City left, leaving only Rose Villa's Li Zhongjian and his group. Following this, the 10,000 troops of the Tiando League's Northwest branch also left. At night, the entire Cloud Sky City suddenly became empty. Originally, there were countless seats in the plaza, but most of them were empty. As for the seats in the ceremony, more than 80% of them were empty. In the pavilion, Yang Dingtian and Dongfang Bingling. "Thank you, Junior Dongfang," Yang Dingtian said. "You're welcome," Dongfang Bingling said. "Is Junior Sister's soul sword finished forging?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Yes, it's finished," Dongfang Bingling said. Then, the two of them fell into an awkward situation, not knowing what to say. Yang Dingtian was not even sure if Dongfang Bingling knew that he was Shenlang. Of course, maybe she knew. "Junior Sister, can you stay for tonight's banquet?" Yang Dingtian asked. Dongfang Bingling shook her head and said, "I can't." Then, the two of them fell into an awkward silence again. Yang Dingtian racked his brains, but he could not find anything to say. "Master's wife, how is she?" Yang Dingtian asked. "She's fine," Dongfang Bingling said. "However, I haven't seen her in a long time." Then, the two of them had nothing to say. "If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave," Dongfang Bingling said. "Yes." Yang Dingtian nodded. Then, he suddenly thought of something and said, "Junior Sister, your soul sword has been forged. Do you know where the Xian vein essence is?" Xian vein essence was formed after thousands of years. The Xian vein essence used to forge a soul sword was far more precious than bloody black gold or Xian ice-cold iron. At least, many people could find enough bloody black gold to forge a soul sword, but they might not be able to find Xian vein essence in their entire lives. It could even be said that in terms of rarity, Xian vein essence was not inferior to ordinary Xian flames. Of course, compared to heaven and earth Xian flames, its rarity was not enough. "No." Dongfang Bingling said, "After I left Cloud Sky City, I went to find the whereabouts of Xian vein essence and sea spirit crystals. Sea spirit crystals required the chaotic earth to be formed after thousands of years. Its rarity far surpassed Xian vein essence. Because of the rarity of Xian vein essence and sea spirit crystals, only half of the great Grandmaster realm experts who possessed Xian flames could possess a sword soul." Yang Dingtian looked at Dongfang Bingling's beautiful face and said, "In the extreme north of the Yin-Yang realm's Linghu cave, there's Yin-Yang Xian vein essence. It's about to mature." This Xian vein essence was what his master, Dongfang Minmi, had told him about before. The Xian vein essence in this cave had both Yin and Yang. Yang Dingtian needed the Yang Xian vein essence. The Yin Xian vein essence could be given to Dongfang Bingling. After Dongfang Bingling heard this, her beautiful eyes were slightly stunned. Then, she turned to Yang Dingtian and said, "Thank you, senior brother. Goodbye." Then, Dongfang Bingling directly walked out. When she reached the door, Dongfang Bingling suddenly said, "Senior brother, at the end of the Rapture River, there's a Yang Xian flame. If you need it, you can go and take a look. Yang Dingtian could not help but be slightly stunned. He did not expect that the Yin Xian vein essence that he mentioned would be exchanged for information about another Yang Xian flame. Xian flames were extremely precious. Having one was already extremely fortunate. Having two was completely against the natural order. At this moment, Yang Dingtian already had two Xian flames. If he had 3 Xian flames, the entire world might go crazy with jealousy. However, the greatest significance of the Xian flames to Yang Dingtian was to feed the darkness Xian flame and let it mature. In this way, Yang Dingtian might be able to guide it into his sea of qi and control it as he wished. Then, Yang Dingtian sent Dongfang Bingling to the door. Looking at her beautiful back view floating in the air and then quickly disappearing from Yang Dingtian's sight. During the banquet that night, the main hall was very cold and cheerless. However, the square was very lively. This was because Yang Dingtian led Yan Yan and more than 3,000 direct martial artists to drink and eat with big bowls of meat. The feast was in full swing. Because he did not use Xian Qi, Yang Dingtian was almost drunk. The next day, Yang Dingtian held the first City Lord Assembly in Yunshao Main Hall. In Yunshao City, other than the elder guarding the Hidden Skills Pavilion, all the other members of the Elders Guild were present. Yang Dingtian sat on the golden throne of the City Lord. He pointed at Jiao Liao and said, "Everyone, this is Jiao Liao from the Sunset Mountains. From today onwards, she is a member of Yunshao City." Yang Yan and the rest looked at Jiao Liao. This extremely beautiful woman was extremely lethal to men. Tang Buizhao's heart even swayed and he could not control himself. Jiao Liao greets all the elders. Jiao Liao was like a beautiful snake. Her delicate body bent slightly as she bowed to everyone. At the mention of Jiao Liao, Yang Yan's eyes narrowed slightly. Then, he waited for Yang Dingtian to continue. He knew very well what Yang Dingtian wanted to say. He definitely wanted Jiao Liao to enter the Elders Guild. In terms of cultivation, Jiao Liao was a martial honorable. She was completely qualified to enter the Elders Guild. However, there were only 2 people in the Elders Guild who belonged to Yang Dingtian's faction. The situation was very unfavorable. After Shiman Yen and Shiman Nu were finished, there were only 9 people left in Yunshao City's Elders Guild. There were only 2 people who belonged to Yang Dingtian's faction. Furthermore, Yang Dingtian could only bring Jiao Liao into the Elders Guild. However, there was no doubt that Yang Yan and the rest would definitely not let Yang Dingtian achieve his goals so easily. Hence, Yang Yan waited for Yang Dingtian to speak. Then, he would think of all sorts of reasons to reject him. However, who knew that after Yang Dingtian mentioned Jiao Liao, he didn't say anything else. It was as though he was just introducing her. "Is there anything else that I can do for you?" "We can discuss it," Yang Dingtian said. Yang Yan, Tang Buizhao, and the rest looked at each other and said, "Shiman Yen and Shiman Nu's survival is unknown. Furthermore, Shiman Nu has seriously violated the rules of Yunshao City's martial contest and is no longer suitable to be an elder of Yunshao City. Hence, we need to find replacements for these 2 elders." Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "What Grand Elder Yang Yan said is exactly what I was thinking. Then, let's add Jiao Liao and Mu Lianqing to become the new Elders Guild members of Yunshao City." When these words came out, everyone's expression changed. "Yang Dingtian, you have such a big appetite." Originally, everyone thought that Yang Dingtian only wanted to bring the martial supreme level expert Jiao Liao into the Elders Guild. They didn't expect him to even want to bring Mu Lianqing into the Elders Guild. Yang Yan's expression instantly turned ugly. "Yang Dingtian, you have such a big appetite. Aren't you afraid of bursting?" Originally, it was already very difficult for Jiao Liao to enter the Elders Guild alone. Now, you want Mu Lianqing to enter the Elders Guild as well? You must be dreaming. This isn't appropriate. Tang Buizhao said coldly, "Mu Lianqing's cultivation is only at the martial mystic level. If he becomes an elder of Yunshao City, everyone will laugh their heads off." Yang Dingtian said, I want Mu Lianqing to be the internal affairs supervisor of Yunshao City. He doesn't need to have a high cultivation to be in charge of internal affairs, right? When these words came out, everyone's expression changed. The internal affairs supervisor of Yunshao City? Was Yang Dingtian trying to seize power? The current supervisor of Yunshao City was Shiminju. Yang Dingtian actually wanted to seize Shiminju's position. Yang Yan's expression changed as he said coldly, "Then, what about Shiminju? What position should he take?" Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "Big brother Shiminju's cultivation is astonishing. Let him guard Black Blood Castle." When these words came out, everyone's expression changed drastically. What was Yang Dingtian trying to do? He actually wanted to hand Black Blood Castle over to Shiminju. This was too incomprehensible. Chapter 352. The Black Blood Cavalry was the largest and most elite armed force in Cloud Sky City. And Black Blood Castle was Cloud Sky City's last and biggest barrier. Cloud Sky City was surrounded by 5 castles, but Black Blood Castle was undoubtedly the biggest one. Once Black Blood Castle fell, it would mean the fall of Cloud Sky City. When any city lord of Cloud Sky City took office, they would hold Black Blood Castle tightly in their hands. Now, Yang Dingtian actually wanted to hand Black Blood Castle over to his biggest enemy, Shiminju. Everyone was puzzled. In fact, Black Blood Castle was already completely under the control of Northwest Qin City. Although Cloud Sky City's flag was still hanging on it, every warrior in the castle came from Northwest Qin City. They just claimed to be Cloud Sky City's warriors. Furthermore, the current commander of Black Blood Castle was still Shimin Lai. However, he definitely couldn't enter Black Blood Castle now. He couldn't even command a single warrior inside. Ever since Yang Zheng was exposed, the relationship between Northwest Qin City and Yang Yan must have changed. Qin Huayu would definitely be wary of Yang Yan, so Shiminju became the only representative of Northwest Qin City in Cloud Sky City. After all, he was the son-in-law of Northwest Qin City. Hence, when Yang Dingtian suggested this, Yang Yan and the rest's expression changed. They didn't want to see this situation. However, the several elders who had been planted by the Northwest Qin City showed a joyful expression. After Shimin Nu and Shimin Yen were finished, Cloud Sky City was left with 9 elders. They were Yang Yan, Yang Peipei, Black Blood Castle Lord Shimin Lai, Internal Affairs Supervisor Shiminju, External Affairs Supervisor Tang Bosheo, Disciplinary Elder Yen Bieli, Scripture Depository Elder Xiao Yan, Beast Speaker and Elixir Alchemist Zhua Boning, and Martial Imparting Elder Ren Duansang. Among them, Zhua Boning entered the Elder Guild as Cloud Sky City's Beast Speaker after Shimin Ningning went missing. This person's background was mysterious, but there was no doubt that he was infiltrated by Northwest Qin City. As for Martial Imparting Elder Ren Duansang, he had always been in Cloud Sky City. His cultivation wasn't weak, but he had always kept a low profile. After Shimin Wuya left, he suddenly rose to prominence. According to Madame Shimin's description, Shimin Wuya once mentioned that Ren Duansang might be a long-term spy from Northwest Qin City. Therefore, at this moment the entire Cloud Sky City's Elders Guild was divided into 3 factions. Yang Dingtian's faction had Yang Peipei and Shimin Lai under their banner. Yang Yan's faction had Tang Boizhao and Yen Bieli under their banner. The Northwest Qin City faction had Shiminju, Ren Duansang, and Zhua Boning under their banner. As for the elders of the Scripture Depository, they had never appeared. They were absolutely neutral. Therefore, in the Elder Council, the 3 factions were completely evenly matched. Yang Dingtian proposed to add Zhao Liao and Mu Lianqing to the Elder Association. This way, Yang Dingtian would have 4 Elder Association members under him. With him as the city lord, he would be the sole authority in the Elder Association. Zhao Liao has just entered Cloud Sky City. It is very inappropriate for her to suddenly be in a high position, Yang Yan said. Please reconsider, City Lord Yang. Yang Dingtian looked at the sage-like Zhua Boning and smiled. Elder Zhua also entered Cloud Sky City last year and became an Elder Association member. Why can't Zhao Liao do the same? Yang Yan said, because after Shimin Ningning went missing, Cloud Sky City lost a beast speaker and an elixir master. Beast speakers are very rare in the world. Master Zhua is a beast speaker and an elixir master. As a special talent, it is natural for him to become an Elder Association member. As for Zhao Liao, she doesn't have any special talents. Furthermore, her martial arts aren't from Cloud Sky City. It is really inappropriate for her to become an Elder Association member. Yang Dingtian smiled. Zhao Liao has special talents. They are snake taming and poison concocting. Tang Guizhao sneered. What a joke. Cloud Sky City is a prestigious sect. Do we have to use poison like those lowly sects? Yang Dingtian said, being able to concoct poison doesn't necessarily mean being able to use poison. It can be used to defend against poison. Nowadays, the situation is even more complicated. In the past, during the war between the Tiando League and the Evil Ways, our Tiando League warriors have died from poison. The matter of defending against poison cannot be delayed. Therefore, Zhao Liao can definitely become a special talent and be inducted into Cloud Sky City's Elder Association. As soon as he said this, many of the elders looked at Yang Dingtian with surprise. In the past, their impression of Yang Dingtian was that he was upright and pure. Of course, this was a nice way to describe him. To put it bluntly, he was stupid and childish. Now, in order to promote Zhao Liao to an Elder Association member, Yang Dingtian was forcefully involved in the war against the Evil Ways. It was as if not including Zhao Liao in the Elder Association would delay the war against the Evil Ways. Among the members of the Tiando League, the war against the Evil Ways was the highest justice. It was absolutely politically correct. As long as anyone used this trump card, no one would be able to refute it. Therefore, after Yang Dingtian brought up the matter of defending against poison, the Elder Association immediately quieted down. Everyone looked at Yang Yan, hoping that he could find an honorable reason to stop Zhao Liao from entering the Elder Association. Great Elder Yang Yan stared deeply at Yang Dingtian and then laughed. Defending against poison is indeed related to the war against the Evil Ways. It involves the life and death of Cloud Sky City. However, this time, there are 2 empty spots in the Elder Association. Shimin Nu's destruction will not affect the operation of the Abyss Castle. Therefore, regarding the new Abyss Castle Master, what do you think? Of course, Yang Dingtian knew Yang Yan's intention. He was proposing an exchange and wanted Yang Zheng to enter the Elder Guild and become the new Abyss Castle Lord. Just let Yang Zheng go. Yang Dingtian said, senior brother Yang Zheng is a direct disciple of Cloud Sky City. His cultivation is very strong, more than twice as strong as Shimin Nu. He is the most suitable person to guard the border of Cloud Sky City. City Master is wise. Yang Yan bowed and said. Good, then the 2 matters are settled. Yang Dingtian said, Cloud Sky City will establish the Poison Pavilion. The first pavilion master will be Zhao Liao's wife and will be a member of the Elder Association. Yang Zheng will be the new Abyss Castle Master and will be a member of the Elder Association. Does anyone have any objections? Do you want to vote? Vote my ass. Yang Dingtian and Yang Yan had already made a deal. Among the 3 factions, 2 had agreed. If there was a vote, out of the 9 Elder Association members, there would be at least 1 who agreed. And as the city master, Yang Dingtian had the absolute right to veto. The Elder Association members looked at each other and bowed. We will obey the city master's orders. Yang Dingtian's first adjustment was officially in place. He allowed Zhao Liao to enter the Elder Association. Of course, as a compromise, his enemy Yang Zheng would also enter the Elder Association. Yang Dingtian's faction had 3 Elder Association members. However, Yang Yan's faction also possessed 4 members of the Council of Elders. Yang Dingtian drank a mouthful of water and said, now, let's move on to the second topic. Shimin-ju will resign from his position as the supervisor of internal affairs and become the Black Blood Castle Master. Does anyone have any objections? Shimin-ju obviously didn't have any objections. When he was on the same side as the city master, being the supervisor of internal affairs was a good job. But when he wasn't on the same side as the city master, being the supervisor of internal affairs was just asking for trouble. And if he became the Black Blood Castle Master, he would become the second most powerful person in the entire Cloud Sky City. Of course, Yang Yan wanted to object to this suggestion, but in the previous transaction, Yang Yan's faction had already benefited. Right now, Yang Dingtian wanted to make a transaction with the Northwest Qin City faction, and Yang Yan couldn't object. Everyone had to reap the benefits together, and Yang Yan couldn't possibly be the only one to reap the benefits. We will obey the city master's orders. All the Elder Association members bowed. Good. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, then, who is suitable for the vacant position of the Supervisor of Internal Affairs? I think Mu Lianqing is very suitable. He is experienced and absolutely loyal. Furthermore, he is City Master Shiman's sword attendant. As for people suspecting that his cultivation isn't strong enough, the Supervisor of Internal Affairs is in charge of internal affairs and doesn't need to have a strong cultivation. At this moment, everyone looked at Yang Dingtian with a strange gaze. This new city master was very experienced. After making a transaction with Yang Yan's faction, he made a transaction with Shimin-ju's faction. He wanted to monopolize two benefits. But if he succeeded, then among the Elder Association members, Yang Dingtian would have 4. In addition to his veto power as the city master, he would have an absolute advantage in Cloud Sky City. This was undoubtedly something that Yang Yan and Shimin-ju didn't wish to see. Yang Yan frowned slightly and said, City Master, this might not be appropriate. Mu Lianqing had left Cloud Sky City for too long, and there are only 2 empty Elder Association members. Jiao Liao and Yang Zheng have already filled in. If Mu Lianqing enters the Elder Association, then there will definitely be one more Elder Association member slot. Shimin-ju also said indifferently, City Master, I also feel that it is inappropriate. On this point, Yang Yan and Shimin-ju's factions were very united. They were against Yang Dingtian adding another Elder Association member. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath. If Shimin-ju and Yang Yan objected at the same time, Yang Dingtian would be at his wit's end. As the Cloud Sky City Master, he had the absolute veto power, but he didn't have the absolute approval power. Therefore, there was no doubt that this suggestion wouldn't pass. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, then how about this? Mu Lianqing will be the Deputy Internal Affairs Supervisor of Cloud Sky City. Shimin Lai will be the Cloud Sky City Garrison Commander and also the Acting Internal Affairs Supervisor. How about it? Once this statement was out, everyone instantly took in a cold breath. It turned out that Yang Dingtian's objective was actually this. He wanted to seize all of Cloud Sky City's military authority and had ulterior motives to let Shimin Lai be the temporary Internal Affairs Supervisor. His intentions were very obvious. Sooner or later, Mu Lianqing would have to be promoted. When the time came, Mu Lianqing would have to be added to the Elder Association. But at this moment, everyone present couldn't find a reason to object. As the former Black Blood Castle Master, Shimin Lai was more than qualified to be the Cloud Sky City Garrison Commander. Furthermore, he felt wronged. One had to know that this position used to belong to Shimin Yan, but it was now completely empty. Furthermore, no matter if it was Shimin-ju or Yang Yan, they couldn't find a suitable person to take up this position. Therefore, it was completely reasonable to let Shimin Lai take up this position. As for letting Mu Lianqing be the Deputy Internal Affairs Supervisor, they couldn't find any fault with it. In an instant, Shimin-ju and Yang Yan looked at Yang Dingtian with vigilance. Previously, they thought that this new city lord was a fledgling and would be easy to control. Who knew that he was so experienced in playing tricks, and the two of them couldn't stop him at all. Alright, today's meeting will end here. Next, we will use the shortest time to carry out today's decision. Yang Dingtian said, Dismissed. Then, he stood up and left. After Yang Dingtian left, Shimen Lai, Yang Peipei, and Jiao Liao also left. Yang Yen came in front of Shimen Ju and smiled. City Lord Yang is very wise and far-sighted. Shimen Ju nodded. After Yang Dingtian arrived at Yen Yen's house, he realized that there was a petite girl beside her. According to Earth's height, she was about 160 centimeters tall. Her small face had some baby fat, and her eyes were big. She looked very delicate and beautiful, and she looked to be about 14 or 15 years old. But in fact, his body had already matured, and he already had everything he needed. Seeing Yang Dingtian enter, this girl's small face flashed with a trace of shyness, but her big eyes were still secretly looking at Yang Dingtian. This was a girl who looked a little timid but also a little crafty. Servant Li Long, greets the city lord. The girl went forward and bowed. Yang Dingtian smiled at her and said, "You are from Rose Villa." "Yes, Li Zhongjian is my father," Li Long said. Among the dozens of vassal forces in Cloud Heaven City, Rose Villa was the only one that was loyal to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's gaze suddenly became more amiable. He smiled and said, "Welcome to Cloud Heaven City as a guest. Have fun." "I'm not here as a guest," Li Long said. Yang Dingtian was slightly stunned, but he didn't understand what she meant. At this moment, Jiao Liao's son, Zhan Lang's voice sounded outside. "Master, Rose Villa's Villa Master Li is here to greet you. Please wait for a moment." "I'll be right there," Yang Dingtian said. Li Zhongjian greets the city lord. When Rose Villa's Villa Master saw Yang Dingtian, he immediately knelt down and bowed. Yang Dingtian hurriedly went forward and helped him up. "This is private. Uncle Li, please don't bow to me like this." Li Zhongjian stood up and said with a burning gaze, "I've already heard about the meeting in Cloud Heaven Palace. The city lord is so powerful. I really admire you. I believe that soon, the entire Cloud Heaven City will be completely under the city lord's control. You will definitely be able to inherit City Lord Shimen's will and lead Cloud Heaven City to greater heights." Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "Not yet. As long as the Northwest Qin City is not completely expelled from Cloud Heaven City will not be truly peaceful. Compromising and trading can only solve the crisis temporarily. It can't completely solve the situation." Then, Yang Dingtian said, "Uncle Li, why are you here to see me?" "I'm here to bid farewell to the city lord," Li Zhongjian said. "Why are you in such a hurry?" Yang Dingtian asked. This time, most of the vassal forces in Cloud Heaven City are against the city lord. I'm the only exception. I'm worried that there will be changes in the villa, so I have to go back early to make the necessary arrangements, Li Zhongjian said. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "All right, I won't keep you. If there's any emergency in Rose Villa, please send someone to inform me immediately. I will do my best to help." "Yes, City Lord." Li Zhongjian bowed and said, "Also, I have a request. I hope the City Lord will grant it." "What is it?" Yang Dingtian asked. "I want to keep my daughter, Li Long, as the City Lord's wife's maid," Li Zhongjian said. Yang Dingtian was slightly troubled. The vassals and the territory would leave their children in the sect master's castle. This was the custom in the chaotic continent. For example, the daughter of the sect master of the Yinyang school's territory was Dongfang Bingling's sword maid. This was a form of loyalty. Yang Dingtian could not stop it. However, Li Long was doing well in Rose Villa. Now, she had to come to Cloud Heaven City to be a servant. This was too unfair to her. Isn't this too unfair to junior sister Long? Yang Dingtian said, "Furthermore, she's so young. If she leaves your side, I'm afraid she will be even more reluctant." Li Zhongjian said, "My daughter is quick-witted and curious. She's already tired of Rose Villa. To be able to stay in Cloud Heaven City, I'm afraid she can't wait." Yang Dingtian said, "All right, then she'll stay. However, she doesn't want to be our maid." She can be Yin Yan's sword maid. The status of a sword maid was higher than that of a maid. Thank you, City Lord, for your guidance. Li Zhongjin bowed. Then, Yang Dingtian accompanied Li Zhongjin to eat a meal. Li Zhongjin brought his men and left Cloud Heaven City, leaving his daughter, Li Long'er, in Cloud Heaven City. In the following period of time, Cloud Heaven City was generally peaceful. Yang Dingtian spent most of his time cultivating. In the remaining time, he used the purple Xian veins of the Naga race to transform Shimenlai and Zhanlang's Xian veins. As for Shimenlai, he began the cleansing process in Cloud Heaven City. After he took control of Cloud Heaven City's defense forces, he began a large-scale adjustment and selection. He completely cleared out all the officers with Northwest Qin City background and changed the positions of those who were not directly related to him. Then, he let most of the Black Blood Cavalry into Cloud Heaven City's defense forces. Just like that, in less than half a month, the entire military forces in Cloud Heaven City were cleansed. Yang Dingtian basically controlled the entire defense forces of Cloud Heaven City. After completing this part, Yang Dingtian began to extend his hand to the castles around Cloud Heaven City. First, Yang Dingtian, in the name of the city lord, ordered that, except for the Black Blood Castle, the garrison rotated. Without a doubt, this matter was resisted by the highest-ranking officers in each castle. Therefore, after Yang Dingtian received a secret tip, he suddenly appeared in a certain castle for a private visit. In the end, the castle lord of that castle was sleeping with a woman in his bed during military training. Moreover, the woman he slept with was the wife of his subordinate officer. Therefore, Yang Dingtian flew into a rage and directly chopped off the head of the castle lord in front of everyone. Then, he publicly announced that a certain officer who had been frozen in the castle would be the new castle lord. And this officer was previously Shimen Wuya's direct subordinate. By the time Yang Yan and the rest reacted, everything had already become an established fact. After Yang Dingtian chopped off the head of a castle lord, the remaining 3 castle lords also began to feel afraid and began to agree to the rotation of the garrison. During the rotation process, Yang Dingtian used a lot of methods to stuff sand. He changed the soup but didn't change the medicine, and changed the medicine but didn't change the soup. He wantonly promoted those officers who were once marginalized and loyal to Shimen Wuya. After these castle lords arrived at the new castle, they were unable to command the army in the castle. Just like that, less than half a month later, Yang Dingtian purged all the old officers in the 4 castles around Cloud Heaven City. He transferred the officers who were originally under Shimen Wuya's direct subordinates to important positions and gradually took control of the military power in the 4 castles around Cloud Heaven City. This was because Yang Dingtian occupied the position of the castle lord and didn't directly fall out with Shimen Ju, Yang Yan, and the rest. Therefore, during the entire process, although Yang Dingtian's purge was somewhat hindered, it was basically very difficult for Yang Yan and the rest to stop it. Other than adjusting the military power in the surrounding castles, Yang Dingtian spent most of his remaining time interacting with the young disciples of Cloud Heaven City. He didn't put on any airs and practiced martial arts together, guiding many disciples in their martial arts. The young disciples of Cloud Heaven City were originally filled with jealousy and unwillingness to accept Yang Dingtian. But now, this jealousy and unwillingness had completely turned into admiration. Therefore, Yang Dingtian used a very fast speed to gradually win back the hearts of the young disciples of Cloud Heaven City. Just like that, in a short 1 to 2 months, Yang Dingtian used a subtle and silent method to quickly win back the hearts and authority of Cloud Heaven City. At that time, with the cooperation of Yang Yan and Shimen Ju, the Northwest Qin City infiltrated Cloud Heaven City very quickly. And now, Yang Dingtian's speed of winning back was even faster. To put it bluntly, this battle for the hearts of the people mainly depended on who stood on the side of righteousness. The young disciples of Cloud Heaven City weren't blind. No matter which angle they stood on, Yang Dingtian stood on the side of righteousness. No matter how Shimen Ju and Yang Yan tried to cover it up, they couldn't wash away the suspicion of colluding with foreign enemies. 2 months later, in a certain house in a remote valley. Inside, there were a few people sitting. They were Shiminju, Qin Huayu, Yang Zheng, Yang Yan, and Tang Buizhao. I misjudged him. I originally thought that this kid was stupid and straightforward. Who knew that his methods were so powerful? Looking at the small pockets one after another, each of them unstoppable. In a short 2 months, this kid actually took over Cloud Heaven City and the surrounding 4 castles. Tang Buizhao said, I really misjudged him. This kid isn't as ruthless as Shimin Wuya, but he's much more sinister. Yes, I misjudged him, Yang Yan said indifferently. We can't go on like this. We can't be so passive. Otherwise, in less than a year, the entire territory of Cloud Heaven City will be cleansed by him. Then what should we do? Tang Buizhao said, let's work together and suppress him in the meeting. No matter what he suggests, we'll reject it. If we work together, we'll have an absolute advantage in votes. Yang Yan shook his head and said, it's useless. This kid does a lot of things without going through the Elders' Council. He lets things happen first and then resolves them at lightning speed. By the time he goes to the Elders' Council, it's already set in stone. Then let the people in Cloud Heaven City rebel. Tang Buizhao said, in this 1,000-mile territory, only the Rose Manor is loyal to this bastard. Let the Iron Sword clan take the lead and rebel. Let that bastard be exhausted until it's out of control. Then, we'll step in and quell the rebellion. This is one method, but it's not direct enough, Qin Huayu suddenly said, the most direct method is to kill him. Kill him? Yang Yan said, unless the Northwest Qin City's grandmasters take action, we won't be able to kill him with just our strength. On their side, there were already 4 martial honorable level powerhouses. If the Northwest Qin City's grandmasters enter Cloud Heaven City to kill Yang Dingtian, it'll shake the world. It'll be difficult for all of us to escape, and we won't be able to face Dongfang Bingling's wrath. Moreover, he's basically in Cloud Heaven City right now. If we want to kill him in Cloud Heaven City, even a Grandmaster might not be able to do it. Of course, we have to lure him out of Cloud Heaven City and kill him in the name of an enemy, Qin Huayu said. How? In whose name? Yang Yan asked. The barbarians of the Sunset Mountain Range, a plundering force, and a terrorist, Qin Huayu said. 7 days later, a shocking piece of news came from Cloud Heaven City. The man-eating barbarians of the Sunset Mountain Range went down the mountain and killed their way into Cloud Heaven City's territory. In just 2 days, they killed their way into Cloud Heaven City's territory. Within 100 miles, everyone, regardless of whether they were warriors, had been slaughtered. Everyone had become food in the stomachs of the man-eating barbarians. Within 100 miles, everything was burned to the ground. Wherever these man-eating barbarians went, not a single person, plant, or tree was left. Suddenly, the entire Cloud Heaven City's territory was in a state of panic. The millions of people in the territory fell into the greatest fear. In just 3 days, 4 small and medium-sized forces in Cloud Heaven City's territory were directly destroyed. For a time, countless cavalry messengers rushed to and fro Cloud Heaven City. Yang Dingtian used his fastest speed to send flying messengers to report to the Tiando League's northwest branch and ask for reinforcements. On the 5th day, thousands of barbarians besieged Rose Villa. As the only one loyal to Yang Dingtian, Rose Villa sent 19 waves of messengers to ask for reinforcements from Yang Dingtian. Only 2 of them successfully arrived at Cloud Heaven City. The remaining 17 were all killed on the way. On this day, Yang Dingtian was cultivating with his eyes closed. At this time, his cultivation had just reached the most critical point. With the mystic fire and the yin-yang qi transformation technique, his cultivation speed was much faster than ordinary people. However, after becoming the city lord, it was difficult for him to cultivate 24 hours a day. In fact, he could only cultivate for 8 hours a day at most. Even so, after 2 months, he was about to break through. He could clearly feel that his sea of qi began to expand and expand. It expanded to the extreme. Suddenly, a white light flashed in his sea of qi. Then, everything in his body sank into nothingness. In just a few minutes, everything began to return to normal. Yang Dingtian had successfully broken through to become a 2-star Marshal Honorable. "Zhang Lang, please let me in." Li Long's crying voice came from outside. "No." Zhang Lang said firmly, "Master is at the critical point of his cultivation. No one can go in. But my father is about to be killed. Our Rose Villa is about to be destroyed. The city lord can't just leave us in the lurch." Li Long cried. Zhang Lang paused for a moment and said, "Master naturally has his own plans. You can't go in." When he said this, Zhang Lang felt a little weak in his heart. He had no confidence. In fact, during this period of time, the morale of Cloud Sky City was very low. Many hot-blooded young disciples were already dissatisfied with Yang Dingtian. They felt that Yang Dingtian was too weak. The barbarian tribe was slaughtering the citizens of Cloud Sky City. As the city lord, Yang Dingtian actually couldn't save them. Although they hadn't said it out loud, the anger in their hearts was already on the verge of erupting. Their trust in Yang Dingtian was already on the verge of collapse. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, "Zhang Lang, let Long in." Then, he muttered to himself, "It's time to end this. Yang Yan, Shiminju, Tang Buizhao, Yang Zheng. I don't know how many I can kill this time. It's best if I kill them all." The hunter was about to hunt his prey. However, it was hard to say who was the hunter and who was the prey. Chapter 353. "Master, please save my father." After Li Long'er came in, she immediately knelt down in front of Yang Dingtian. Zhang Lang followed behind and looked at Yang Dingtian with hope. After all, he was only a 17-year-old youth. "Zhang Lang, what did the people in Cloud Heaven City say?" Yang Dingtian asked. Zhang Lang's expression instantly turned ugly and revealed a trace of anger. However, he quickly shook his head and said, "No, nothing." "What? You still want to lie in front of me?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Madam and mother didn't allow me to say it." Zhang Lang said, "The people outside are saying nasty things. Previously, when I walked in Cloud Heaven City, all the young disciples envied me because I was your disciple. Now that I walk out, everyone is looking down on me and pointing at me behind my back. I don't even want to go out now." "What else?" Yang Dingtian asked. "They say that you are a coward and a coward. There are even worse things. They say that you and my mother had an affair, so your relationship with the barbarians in the Sunset Mountain Range is not clean. Some even say that they regret supporting you. If they knew earlier, they would have let Shiminju or Yang Zheng be the Cloud Heaven City Lord." Zhang Lang said, "Anyway, there are worse things than that." "Do many people say that?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Only a small portion of people say that. However, most of the Cloud Heaven City disciples are now staring at you. Although they haven't said anything, they must be suspecting something in their hearts." Zhang Lang said, "They are the people who support you the most in Cloud Heaven City. If they lose their trust in you, then it won't be good." Yang Dingtian nodded and said to Li Long'er, "Get up. I will save your father." "Really?" Li Long'er was pleasantly surprised. Yang Dingtian smiled and nodded. Then, he walked out and said to Zhang Lang, "Go and inform all the members of the Elder Association and Manager Mu Lianqing to go to the Cloud Heaven Main Hall for a meeting." "Yes." Zhang Lang was excited and said happily. Seeing Zhang Lang's cheering figure jumping out, Yang Dingtian sighed softly. The news of Yang Dingtian holding a meeting at the Cloud Sky ceremony quickly spread throughout Cloud Sky City. Thus, one after another, many Cloud Sky City disciples gradually walked to the square and began to gather in front of the Cloud Sky Hall. As Yang Dingtian made his way to Yunshao Palace, countless gazes stared at Yang Dingtian. They were filled with anticipation, unease, and doubt. In the past 2 months, Yang Dingtian had just won their hearts, but they still didn't have absolute trust in him. Therefore, if Yang Dingtian didn't solve this crisis, then the respect and trust that Cloud Sky City's young disciples had for Yang Dingtian would be destroyed. There were already a few thousand Cloud Sky City disciples gathered there, and the number was still increasing. Although no one made a sound, this silence was brewing a powerful energy that could erupt at any time. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt the gaze of those students when they looked at Baldi Jiang when China lost the Northeast during the 918 era on Earth. Yang Dingtian didn't say anything to them and directly walked into the Cloud Sky Hall. Creak. There was a muffled sound before the Cloud Sky Hall's door slowly closed. Inside the Cloud Sky Hall, Yang Dingtian sat on the City Lord's golden throne. Below him were 11 Elders Guild members and Mu Liansheng, who were seated in 2 rows. The barbarian race from the Sunset Mountain Range has invaded our Cloud Sky City's territory. Let's discuss what to do, Yang Dingtian said. When Yang Dingtian finished speaking, Yang Yen lowered his head and didn't say anything. He didn't have any intention to speak. Yang Dingtian looked at Shimin Ju. He didn't have any intention to speak either. He looked at Shimin Lai. Shimin Lai said loudly, "This subordinate is willing to lead the army and eliminate the invading enemies." Jiao Liao stood up and said, reporting to the City Lord, "This subordinate feels a little strange." For the past few decades, the barbarian race from the Sunset Mountain Range might have plundered the people below the mountain, but they never invaded on a large scale. This time, the barbarian race invaded our Cloud Sky City's territory on a large scale. This is truly strange. Furthermore, the raging Storm Valley, which is closest to us, is currently in an internal conflict and is unable to deal with so many barbarian race warriors invading our Cloud Sky City's territory. If it was the other barbarian race from the Sunset Mountain Range, they wouldn't be able to pass through the raging Storm Valley. Therefore, this subordinate feels that there is a trap. After all, for the past few decades, the barbarian race from the Sunset Mountain Range didn't dare to brazenly invade Cloud Sky City. They didn't dare in the past, but it is different now. Now that there is a new City Lord, of course they dare. After all, even persimmons have to be picked on soft persimmons. Tang Buizhao spoke in a strange tone. Madame Shimin was enraged as she rebuked, "Tang Buizhao, what do you mean?" "Nothing much." Tang Buizhao sneered and said, "If not, why didn't they invade when City Lord Shimin was in power? They didn't even invade when there was no City Lord. However, the new City Lord hasn't been in power for more than 2 months and they are invading our Cloud Sky City's territory. Isn't the meaning of this clear enough?" Shimin Lai's face was filled with anger as he stood up and said, "City Lord, Tang Buizhao is being strange and is cursing indirectly. He has offended his superiors and is secretly attacking the City Lord. I request for severe punishment." Tang Buizhao laughed loudly and said, "What? I can't even say it. How impressive." Back then, City Lord Shimin was already a grandmaster, but he wasn't so overbearing. As expected, he is not strong but he is arrogant. Shimin Lai was furious. He immediately pulled out his sword and was about to rush forward. "Everyone, shut up. Let's talk business." Yang Dingtian looked at Shimin Lai. "Yes." Shimin Lai respectfully returned to his original position. Tang Buizhao revealed a proud and cold smile. "Madam Snake Tail, please continue," Yang Dingtian said. "Yes, City Lord." Jiao Liao bowed and said, "Although the barbarian race's invasion in the Sunset Mountain Range is very strange, there is no doubt that they are barbarian race warriors. Therefore, in order to find out the reason, I can act as a messenger and negotiate with the invading barbarian race. Even if I can't make them retreat, I can at least find out who they are and why they offended our Cloud Sky City." When she said this, Madame Shimin and Shimin Lai nodded in agreement. "Hee hee." Tang Buizhao sneered and said, "Jiao Liao, you are the daughter of the barbarian race in the Sunset Mountain Range. If I let you go, it's hard to say whether you are negotiating or colluding with them. Who knows, the barbarian race might know that our Cloud Sky City is at its weakest and directly attack us." When he said this, Madame Shimin and Shimin Lai's faces were filled with anger. Jiao Liao's beautiful eyes frowned. After a flash of anger, she didn't say anything and directly bowed respectfully, waiting for Yang Dingtian's reply. Yang Dingtian sighed deeply and said, "Martial Uncle Tang Buizhao, I already said, let's talk business. Madam Snake Tail and you are both members of the Cloud Sky City's Elder Council. Is it appropriate for you to slander her like this?" Hearing Yang Dingtian's soft tone, Tang Buizhao sneered and said, "City Lord, it's hard to say whether I am slandering her or not." Yang Dingtian came down from the City Lord's golden throne and cupped his hands towards Tang Buizhao. He said, "Martial Uncle Tang Buizhao, for the unity of Cloud Sky City, please apologize to Madame Jiao Liao." I'm sorry, City Lord Yang. Forgive me for not being able to comply." Tang Buizhao laughed and said, "However, City Lord Yang, I have to say something. You and Jiao Liao haven't known each other for long, right? Previously, you ignored everyone's objections and pushed her into the Elder Council. Now, you want me, a two-generation elder, to go and give it to her. I would like to ask, what is the relationship between you and Jiao Liao?" When he said this, Madame Shiman's expression changed. This Tang Buizhao was slandering Yang Dingtian and Jiao Liao for having an affair. "Martial Uncle Tang, are you saying that I have an abnormal relationship with Jiao Liao?" Yang Dingtian said. "I didn't say that." Tang Buizhao said, "However, you are about the same age as her son, yet you want to be her son's master. This is indeed a little strange." Yang Dingtian raised his hand and said, "In front of all the elders, I swear that I have an innocent relationship with Madame Jiao Liao. There is absolutely no relationship between a man and a woman." When he said this, Shiman Lai and Madame Shiman frowned slightly. They didn't understand why Yang Dingtian would say this. As the city lord, just because someone had slandered him, he had to explain and swear in front of everyone. How weak was that? How unwise was that? Tang Buizhao sneered and said, "Who knows if there is any relationship between a man and a woman? Swear, anyone can do that." Yang Dingtian looked at Tang Buizhao helplessly and spoke in a sorrowful voice, "Martial Uncle Tang Buizhao, what exactly do you want me to do to prove my innocence with Snake Tail Madame Jiao?" When Tang Buizhao saw that he had forced Yang Dingtian to this point, he sneered and said, "If you want people to trust you completely, it's simple. Just castrate yourself." Jiao Liao was instantly furious. She looked at Tang Buizhao with eyes full of pain. "If the master is humiliated, the servant dies. I will use my death to prove the city lord's innocence." Jiao Liao suddenly pulled out her scimitar and was about to cut her own neck. Dang! Madame Shiman moved her sword like lightning and directly knocked Jiao Liao's scimitar away. However, a line of blood still appeared on Madame Shiman's neck. Humph, putting on airs. You have a guilty conscience." Tang Buizhao sneered. Yang Dingtian frowned in pain. He walked in front of Tang Buizhao and said, "Martial Uncle Tang, do you mean that I have to castrate myself to prove my innocence? If you do that, I won't stop you." Tang Buizhao said. "Understood." Yang Dingtian nodded. Then, he suddenly pulled out his golden soul sword and placed it on Tang Buizhao's neck. He said sternly, "Men, take Tang Buizhao down. Pull out his tongue and chop off his head." Yang Dingtian's voice was very loud. It was like thunder, shocking everyone present. Shiman Lai's expression changed. Then, his eyes lit up. Immediately after, Shiman Lai, Madame Shiman, and Jiao Liao rushed forward and wanted to take Tang Buizhao down. Yang Yan's expression changed and said, "City Lord, what is the meaning of this?" Tang Buizhao's expression changed. He shouted sternly, "You dare!" After speaking, Tang Buizhao, Yang Zheng, and Yan Bieli pulled out their swords. "Grand Elder Yang Yan, are you trying to rebel?" Yang Dingtian shouted sternly. "Yang Yan doesn't dare." Yang Yan bowed and said, "I just want the city lord to calm down." "Calm down? How can I calm down?" Yang Dingtian shouted angrily, "Yang Yan, you know the rules of Cloud Heaven City better than I do. Tell me, what is the punishment for slandering a colleague without any evidence? Yang Yan bowed and said, you should open your mouth 20 times. Slandering the city lord? Should I offend him? Yang Dingtian said sternly. Yang Yan bowed and said, you should pull out his tongue. Attempting to castrate the city lord and plotting to kill the city lord. What is the punishment? Yang Dingtian shouted sternly. Yang Yan's expression changed and said, you should be executed. Yang Dingtian sneered and said, then it's clear. Tang Boizhou will be punished for 3 crimes. Execute him. Tang Boizhou's expression changed drastically. He shouted sternly, little thief, you dare. Do you think I dare or not? Everyone here, listen up. Kill Tang Boizhou. Yang Dingtian ordered sternly. He then looked at Yang Yan with lightning speed and said coldly, whoever dares to disobey will be considered a rebellion. Tang Boizhou shook his sword and said to Yang Yan, Great Elder, what are you waiting for? Do it. Yang Yan's gaze quickly looked at Shiminju. He found that Shiminju was motionless as if he was asleep. Then, Yang Yan looked at Yang Zheng. He saw that Yang Dingtian's eyes were filled with anger and coldness. Shiminju's side did not make a move. Yang Yan's side had 4 revered martial artists. Yang Dingtian's side also had 4 revered martial artists. No one could do anything to the other. If they really fought, Shiminju would be the one to take advantage. Yang Yan wanted to kill Yang Dingtian. Moreover, he had colluded with Qin Huayu to set up a huge trap. Therefore, he definitely did not want to alert the enemy and also did not want to complicate matters. Then, Yang Yan's heart stirred and a thought emerged. Earlier on, Yang Dingtian was just baiting Tang Boizhou to commit a crime. He was trying to provoke Tang Boizhou. Could his motive be to avoid sending troops to the Rose Manor? If Yang Dingtian didn't send troops to rescue the Rose Manor, it meant that he didn't jump into the trap. It meant that the plan to murder Yang Dingtian had failed. Instantly, Yang Yan's heart turned cold. He looked at Yang Dingtian with a sinister gaze and said to himself, could this little thief be so crafty? I must not let him successfully divert today's main topic. Presumptuous. Are you trying to rebel? Step down. Yang Yan yelled out immediately. In an instant, Yan Bieli and Yang Zheng sheathed their swords and took a few steps back. Immediately after, Yang Yan knelt down on one knee and said, Tang Boizhou has committed a crime and deserves to die. Considering that he is an elder of 2 generations and it was an unintentional mistake, I beg the city lord to spare him. He can be spared from death, but he cannot escape punishment. Yang Dingtian said coldly, considering Grand Elder's plea, I shall pardon Tang Boizhou's death and expel him from the Elder Council. Does anyone have any objections? Once this statement was out, everyone had a drastic change in expression. It turned out that Yang Dingtian's burden was here. He actually wanted to expel Tang Boizhou from the Elder Council. His motive was obviously to replace Mu Lianqing. Allowing Mu Lianqing to enter the Elder Council was something that Yang Dingtian had already planned. This time, Yang Dingtian didn't hesitate to use himself as bait and wanted to expel Tang Boizhou from the Elder Council. Tang Boizhou had an infuriated expression as he spoke sternly, little thief, you dare? What rights do you have to expel me from the Elder Council? At this moment, even Shiminju's expression changed. Yang Dingtian ignored Tang Boizhou and looked at Yang Yan instead. He sneered and said, Grand Elder, if Tang Boizhou's matter isn't resolved, then there is no need to discuss anything else today. Yang Dingtian's intention was very clear. He wanted to continue discussing the matter of sending troops to the Rose Manor. If he wanted Yang Dingtian to lead the troops out of the city, then he wanted to sacrifice Tang Boizhou. Yang Yan's eyes were cold and furious as his expression changed. Tang Boizhou was his most trusted subordinate, and he naturally didn't wish for Tang Boizhou to be expelled from the Elder Council. But right now, there was nothing more important than killing Yang Dingtian. As long as he could kill Yang Dingtian, the matter of Tang Buizhao being expelled from the Elder Council today would become insignificant. Tang Buizhao would return to the Elder Council the same way he was expelled today. In order to let Yang Dingtian step into the trap, in order to kill Yang Dingtian, he could endure anything. This old one has obeyed the city lord's order to expel Tang Buizhao from the Elder Council. Yang Yan bowed, his eyes filled with absolute killing intent. Grand Elder! Tang Buizhao exclaimed in disbelief. You dare to disobey? Yang Yan's cold gaze shot toward Tang Buizhao. Tang Buizhao was completely fearful of Yang Yan. He quickly avoided his gaze and lowered his head. His eyes were filled with soaring hatred. Still not leaving? Yang Yan said coldly. His heart was filled with anger toward Tang Buizhao. This disappointing thing, at this critical juncture, he was schemed against by Yang Dingtian, causing him, Yang Yan, to be in such a passive position. Tang Buizhao glared at Yang Dingtian with resentment. He snorted coldly and then turned to leave. Wait! Yang Dingtian said coldly, there's still 30 words per mouth. Have you forgotten? Tang Buizhao said sternly, Yang Dingtian, don't go too far. Yang Dingtian slowly closed his eyes and ignored Tang Buizhao. Yang Yan gritted his teeth. In order to kill Yang Dingtian, he had even endured the previous loss. Now, 30 words was nothing. Impudent, aren't you going to punish him? Yang Yan said coldly. Then, he stared coldly at Tang Buizhao. Tang Buizhao's body trembled. He stood on the spot and stared at Yang Dingtian. His vicious gaze was as if he wanted to tear Yang Dingtian into pieces. Shimen Lai, come forward and carry out the punishment. Yang Dingtian said. Yes. Shimen Lai responded loudly. Then, he walked in front of Tang Buizhao, opened his huge palm, and slapped him fiercely. Slap! A loud sound rang out, almost sending Tang Buizhao flying. Mrs. Shimen and Xiao Liao stepped forward and grabbed Tang Buizhao's arm, making him unable to move. Then, Shimen Lai used all his strength and slapped him one after another. Slap, 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 every slap resounded through the main hall. On the surface, it was slapping Tang Buizhao's face. In fact, every slap was slapping Yang Yan's face. Yang Yan's face suddenly became extremely ugly. He looked at Yang Dingtian with a murderous and resentful gaze. Little thief, I will tear you into pieces. After 30 slaps, Tang Buizhao's face was swollen beyond recognition. Even his nose was crooked. Half of his teeth were slapped out. His mouth, nose, and ears were all bleeding. His entire head was a bloody mess. Throw him out, Yang Dingtian said coldly. Shimen Lai grabbed Tang Buizhao's neck and walked directly to the door of the main hall. He opened the door and threw Tang Buizhao out. Suddenly, there was an uproar outside. Yang Yan's face was ashen. He said coldly, City Lord Yang Dingtian, Tang Buizhao has been punished. Now, it's time to talk about business. The barbarians in the Sunset Mountain Range have harmed the people of my Cloud Sky City. At this time, Rose Villa is in danger. This old man requests the city lord to lead the troops to rescue Rose Villa. This subordinate also requests the city lord to lead the troops to rescue Rose Villa. Shimen Ju stepped out and bowed. Then, except for Jiao Liao, Shimen Lai, and Mrs. Shimen, all the members of the Elders Guild stepped out and requested Yang Dingtian to send troops. Shimen Ju and Yang Dingtian joined forces to force Yang Dingtian into a fatal trap and kill him. Chapter 354. Don't be in such a hurry. Now that there's an Elder Council member, we have to fill it, right? Yang Dingtian smiled. Yang Yan's face twitched. Even with his shrewdness, he couldn't help but immediately fall out. However, he still suppressed his anger and smiled. Then according to the city lord's opinion, who should this Elder Council member be given to? Yang Dingtian looked at Shimen Lai and said, Big brother, in the past 2 months, have you been managing the internal affairs of Cloud Heaven City? Shimin Lai said, I have not managed it. Cloud Heaven City's defense and military affairs have made me too busy. I really can't divert my attention to manage the internal affairs. Yang Dingtian asked, then how is Cloud Heaven City's order? Very orderly. Shimin Lai said. Yang Dingtian looked at Shimin Ju and asked, second brother, you have also been the internal affairs chief. What do you think of Cloud Heaven City's order? Shimin Ju's charred face twitched and said, very good. How is it compared to you being the chief? Yang Dingtian asked. No matter how scheming Yang Yen was, he couldn't hold it in anymore and said, all right, City Lord, you don't have to beat around the bush. This old man recommends Mu Lianqing to be Cloud Heaven City's internal affairs chief and add an elder council member. Oh, since the Grand Elder has said so, then so be it. Yang Dingtian said indifferently, Uncle Mu, from today onwards, you will be Cloud Heaven City's internal affairs chief and also an elder council member. Thank Grand Elder Yang Yen. Mu Lianqing went forward and bowed to Yang Yen. Mu Lianqing thanks Grand Elder. Yang Yen almost vomited blood and nodded. Then, he looked at Yang Dingtian and asked, City Lord, what does the City Lord have to say about sending troops to rescue Rose Manor? Yang Dingtian muttered to himself and didn't say anything. Yang Yen went forward and pushed open the door of Cloud Heaven Hall. Outside, it was densely packed with Cloud Heaven City's disciples. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Yang Dingtian. Yang Yen immediately knelt down in front of Yang Dingtian and spoke loudly, Rose Manor's Li Zhongjian is the only vassal in the territory that has pledged loyalty. If we don't even save him, Cloud Sky City will completely lose the hearts of the people. We will never be able to restore the dissension and discord in the thousands of miles of territory. The hundreds of years of foundation of their ancestors were about to be completely destroyed. Yang Yen will definitely send troops to Rose Mountain Villa. Immediately after, Yan Bieli, Yang Zheng, Shimin Ju, and the others all knelt down. We implore City Lord Yang Dingtian to send troops to save Rose Manor and repel the barbarian bandits. Everyone shouted in unison. At the same time, on the square, thousands of warriors and disciples knelt down in unison. I beg the City Lord to send troops to save Rose Villa. The cheers of a few thousand people shook the earth. If Yang Dingtian did not respond, he was afraid that the people would lose their support. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said in a loud voice, all right, I'll give the official order. Send troops to the Rose Villa and eliminate the barbarian thieves. The City Lord is wise. Yang Yen exclaimed. Outside, thousands of warriors and Cloud Sky City disciples were shouting. City Lord, you mustn't. Shimin Lai and Mu Lianqing exclaimed. This matter shall be decided. Yang Dingtian spoke resolutely and decisively. Yang Yen continued to speak loudly, the City Lord has just ascended the throne, and many of the feudal vassals within 1,000 miles are unconvinced. This old man implored the City Lord to personally be the commander-in-chief and send troops to the Rose Villa. Your might will definitely spread far and wide. All right. Yang Dingtian yelled out, Yang Dingtian will personally be the commander-in-chief and eliminate the barbarian thieves. Long live the City Lord! Long live the City Lord! In an instant, the square was in an uproar as cheers shook the sky. They closed the doors and continued with the discussion. Yang Dingtian said, it has been decided that I will personally lead the expedition. Next, let's discuss how many troops to send. How many of the Elder Council's members will follow me to the expedition? This old man is willing to follow the City Lord to the expedition. Yang Yen yelled out. This subordinate is also willing to follow the City Lord to the expedition. In an instant, Yan Bieli, Yang Zheng, Shimin Ju, and the others all stepped out and were willing to follow Yang Dingtian to the Rose Villa. All right. Yang Dingtian laughed loudly and said, I order Mu Lianqing and Shimin Lai to guard the Cloud Heaven City. The rest of the elders will follow me to the expedition. Once these words were spoken, everyone's expression changed. Shimin Lai immediately knelt down and yelled out, I implore the city lord to allow me to follow you to the expedition." Yang Yan and Shimin Ju were astonished as well. Yang Dingtian actually only brought along Jiao Liao and Madame Shimin to the expedition. This meant that he only had 2 martial supreme experts to protect him. Furthermore, without Shimin Lai, he didn't have anyone who knew how to lead the troops. Was this Yang Dingtian courting death? He actually brought along Shimin Ju and Yang Yan's troops, as well as 7 to 8 martial supreme experts. When the time came, there would be no need for Qin Huayu's experts to make a move. Just these 7 to 8 martial supreme experts would be enough to kill Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian continued, "As for the dispatch of troops, I will lead 1,000 Cloud Heaven City guards. Shimin Ju will lead 2,000 Black Blood Castle troops. Grand Elder Yang Yan, please use your fastest speed to contact all the feudal vassals in the Cloud Heaven City territory to dispatch troops. These feudal vassals must dispatch at least 5,000 troops. Yang Zheng, you will lead 2,000 Abyss cavalry troops. Our 10,000 troops will split into 4 groups and march towards the Rose Manor. We will definitely annihilate the barbarian bandits." "Understood." Yang Yan and the others yelled out as their eyes lit up. This Yang Dingtian was truly afraid that he would die too slowly. He actually only brought 1,000 troops while the remaining 9,000 troops were all enemies with ulterior motives. Even if one was courting death, they wouldn't do it the way Yang Dingtian did. "Alright, since it has been decided, then let's get to work." Yang Dingtian said, "Grand Elder, use your fastest speed to gather the armies of the feudal vassals in the territory. Shimin Ju, immediately go and reorganize the Black Blood Castle troops. After reorganizing, you will be the vanguard and march towards the Rose Manor in advance. Yang Zheng, you will ride the winged cavalry to the Abyss Castle and lead 2,000 Abyss cavalry troops to march towards the Rose Manor from the west. 9 days later, we will meet at the Rose Manor and surround the barbarian bandits." "Yes!" everyone yelled out in unison. Afterward, everyone immediately left the Cloud Heaven Grand Hall and Cloud Heaven City and headed towards the Black Blood Castle and the Abyss Castle respectively. Amidst the cheers of countless people, Yang Dingtian led Shimin Lai, Madame Shimin, Mu Liancheng, and Jiao Liao back to the small building. "Little Tian, are you crazy?" Madame Shimin finally couldn't hold it in and yelled out, "Everyone can see that it is a trap for you to lead the troops to the Rose Manor. Not only did you go, but you only brought 1,000 troops and left Shimin Lai, who is the best at fighting, in Cloud Heaven City. At that time, the 9,000 troops around you will all be your enemies. At that time, you will only have 2,000 to 3,000 men from the Rose Manor. How can you block the enemy's 10,000 men? You will die there." Yang Dingtian looked outside and said, "Yan Yan, where is Long He?" "Oh, she is in the clothing and hat pavilion making a battle robe for my husband." Yan Yan replied. Yang Dingtian looked at everyone and said, "No, at that time, I will only have 1,000 men around me. Or even less than 1,000 men. The 3,000 men from the Rose Manor will definitely not be my allies. They will only be my enemies." Everyone present exclaimed. The Rose Manor was an enemy? How could it be? Li Zhongjian was one of the only forces that knelt down and pledged loyalty to Yang Dingtian. That's right. Li Zhongjian is the only one that knelt down and pledged loyalty to me. But why? Yang Dingtian asked. Shimin Lai said, "Isn't it because City Lord Shimin once saved Li Zhongjian's life?" That's right. City Lord Shimin did save his life. However, City Lord Shimin saved his life when he was in a desperate situation. Furthermore, City Lord Shimin made him lose more than half of his territory and split his territory into 3. This caused him to go from being the number 1 force to being the number 3 force. Yang Dingtian continued, "Furthermore, he was the only one that knelt down and pledged loyalty to me not because Uncle Shimin once saved his life, but because he was the closest to the Sunset Mountains." "If that's the case, then you should bring more troops and more experts," Shimin Lai said. "No, not only will I not bring more troops, but I will also bring troops that are not under my direct control. Isn't there an old army in Cloud Sky City that is loyal to the Yang family? I will bring them there, Yang Dingtian said. You can't. Shimin Lai exclaimed. That way, you will be even more alone. At that time, it will really be disastrous. That's right. This time, I will be stepping into the biggest trap. All the forces in Cloud Sky City that oppose me will gather at the Rose Villa, including all the hidden forces of the Northwest Qin City in Cloud Sky City. They will all gather at the Rose Villa with only one goal, and that is to use the Sunset Mountains as an excuse to kill me, Yang Dingtian said. Everyone's expression changed. If that was the case, then why did Yang Dingtian still step into the trap? I clearly know that this is a trap, so why did I still step into it? Yang Dingtian said. Because I don't have time. I don't have the time to clean up the rebel forces in Cloud Sky City bit by bit. Our progress is already very fast. Within 2 months, we have almost taken control of the entire Cloud Sky City. However, it is still not enough. It is far from enough. What about Black Blood Castle? Abyss Castle? There is still Cloud Sky City's 1,000-mile territory. At this rate, I won't be able to do anything else for the next few years. It won't be enough even if I use all my effort and energy to clean up Cloud Sky City. However, we don't have many years left. Qin Chi is like a hot knife through butter in the southwest continent. In a few months, his 100,000-strong army will sweep through my Cloud Sky City with a destructive force. By then, my Cloud Sky City will definitely be smashed into pieces. Therefore, I want to completely clean up Cloud Sky City in the shortest time possible. Kill Yang Yan, Shiminju, Yang Zheng, Yen Bieli, Tang Buizhao, Zhou Boning, and all the other rebel forces. Wipe out all the rebels within Cloud Sky City's 1,000-mile territory. Unify Cloud Sky City's 1,000-mile territory in the shortest time possible. I want to completely clean up Cloud Sky City's 1,000-mile territory in the shortest time possible, Yang Dingtian said loudly. All of a sudden, everyone present was completely stunned. Yang Yan and the others had set up a huge trap just to kill Yang Dingtian alone. However, Yang Dingtian had resolutely stepped into the trap and used himself as bait to lure out all the rebel forces. He actually wanted to turn around and eliminate all the enemies. It was no wonder that Yang Dingtian ordered Shiminju to bring out all the Black Blood Castle's army and ordered Yang Yan to summon all the elite troops within Cloud Sky City's territory. He ordered Yang Zheng to mobilize most of the Abyss Castle's army. How is this possible? Madame Shimin said, Little Tian, I have always believed in you. However, this matter isn't like cultivating martial arts where miracles can happen. This time, you only brought me and Zhao Liao. With just the 3 of us, you want to defeat dozens of revered martial artists and tens of thousands of soldiers. It's impossible to wipe out all the rebels. Shimin Lai said, if the city lord wants to settle it with a single battle, then we will bring all the troops under our direct command. Your direct command has 4,000 men. Cloud Sky City's disciples who support you have 5,000 men, Cloud Sky City's garrison has 2,000 men, and the surrounding 4 castles have 3,000 men. In total, there are more than 10,000 men. We will have a decisive battle at Rose Villa. No! Yang Dingtian said, why should I mobilize all the Black Blood Castle's army? Why should I mobilize all the troops of the Abyss Castle? Why should I mobilize all the troops of the vassals in the territory? It is to clear out Black Blood Castle and the Abyss Castle so that our troops can use the fastest speed to take down Black Blood Castle. Otherwise, if we fight normally, who knows how long it will take to take down these 2 castles. However, you are too weak. It is impossible to win, Shimin Lai said straightforwardly. That's right. Yang Dingtian said, so I can't be alone. I need an extremely powerful ally who can wipe out all these rebels. Who is that ally? Madame Shimin asked, could it be Dongfang Bingling? Of course not, Yang Dingtian said, I definitely can't let her help with this kind of thing. She also won't do it. That powerful ally is someone else. It is not convenient for me to say it now. However, I feel that you are still taking too much of a risk, Shimenlai said. You are related to the entire Cloud Sky City. You can't take such a risk. However, I don't have time. I have to completely stabilize the situation in Cloud Sky City and then go out to cultivate. To me, the most important thing is still to cultivate and become strong. The mystic vein essence that is hard to come by in thousands of years is about to mature. I can't miss it. Therefore, I have to solve Cloud Sky City's crisis in the shortest time possible, Yang Dingtian said. Madame Shimen looked at Yang Dingtian. Then, what are your chances of winning? Right now, I don't even have a 10% chance of winning. Yang Dingtian said, however, I have to meet someone. If I can successfully persuade her, then I have an 80% chance of winning. I can wipe out all the rebels in Cloud Sky City in one fell swoop. Who is that person? Madame Shimen asked. Yang Dingtian and Yen Yen came to Cloud Sky City's dungeon. The person he wanted to meet was an extremely powerful demon beast, the nine-tailed mystic fox demon. Back then, Shimen Wuya teamed up with Dongfang Minmi and a few other experts to capture this demon fox that was close to 1,000 years old. They also used a formation to imprison her. Rumble. With a loud sound, two stone doors that were more than a meter thick slowly opened. A gust of hot air suddenly came out, almost burning the hair on their bodies. In front of them was an incomparably huge cave. A piece of stone stretched out from the wall of the cave, forming a platform that was more than 10 meters long and 3 meters wide. Below the platform was a bottomless abyss. At the bottom of the abyss was fiery red magma, with sparks shooting up from time to time. The entire platform was the only place where they could stand. If they fell, they would definitely be smashed into pieces. Dozens of meters in front of the platform, a 2-meter square iron cage was suspended in midair. It was neither up nor down. Inside the iron cage, the peerless fox demon Yao Rao was imprisoned here. Yao Rao, I'm here to see you again, Yin Yin said. Yao Rao raised her head, revealing an extremely beautiful face. Just by opening her eyes, she could hook everyone's soul away. Even though Yang Dingtian had already seen Yao Rao before, he couldn't help but be stunned as his mind swayed. Her long and narrow eyes shot out a soul-sucking radiance from her dark green pupils. Her entire face was very long and sharp. Her nose was very high, but it was also long and sharp. Her blood-red lips were plump and alluring. This wasn't the face of a typical beauty. Instead, it was the face of a fox. However, when put together, it formed an unparalleled impact. It was absolutely capable of causing the downfall of a country and its people. This Yao Rao was indeed a demon fox that was close to 1,000 years old. No matter if it was her beauty or her charm, she surpassed Qin Mingli. She even surpassed Dugu Fengwu's disguise as Third Lady Gongsun. Little girl, you're finally willing to come and see me. Yao Rao spoke in a delicate voice. I know that many things have happened in Cloud Heaven City. However, even though I'm down here, no one actually came to disturb me. Oh right, that little man beside you. Is he the little fool that wasn't even a martial disciple 2 years ago? What's his cultivation now? Yao Rao's beautiful eyes focused as she stared at Yang Dingtian. Ah! Immediately after, Yao Rao cried out in surprise, oh my god, you actually broke through to revered martial artist? In less than 2 years, you broke through to revered martial artist from an enlightener? Are you even human? I think you're not some kind of demonic beast's incarnation, right? Perhaps only the Naga race's possession could create such a miracle. Yao Rao's beautiful eyes widened to the extreme. Her beautiful eyes revealed an inconceivable radiance as she spoke in a delicate voice. Even if you completely devoured Yen Yen and her mother's Xian Qi, you still wouldn't be able to reach revered martial artist. What nonsense are you talking about? Yao Rao, I'm going to get angry. Yen Yen said, not only did my husband not devour my Xian Qi, he even healed my Xian meridians. Impossible. Yao Rao said, no one in this world can heal your Xian meridians. It's just an energy black hole. It can be cured, Yang Dingtian said. You also know about energy black holes? Have you been to the celestial Red Sea? Yao Rao asked in surprise. Of course. Yang Dingtian said. Yao Rao sucked in a breath of cold air as she looked at Yang Dingtian. I can see that a Cloud Heaven City Lord who is even more heaven-defying than Shimen Wuya has appeared. Perhaps, a Cloud Heaven City is already unable to keep you here. Then, Yao Rao said, all right, speak. Why are you looking for me? Yang Dingtian said, Madam Yao Rao, may I ask what your cultivation level is when you transform into human form? Intermediate Master, Yao Rao said, not even 1/10 of my demonic beast form. It's enough. Yang Dingtian said, I want to let you go. I want you to go with me to Rose Villa and kill some people. All right. Yao Rao said in a delicate voice, but you have to do 2 things first. Moreover, you can't do either of them. What are they? Yang Dingtian asked. The first thing is to undo this formation that's trapping me. Yao Rao said, this formation was set up by several great master-level experts. With your revered martial cultivation, you can't open it. Then what's the second thing? Yang Dingtian asked. The second thing is to make me pregnant and stabilize my human form. Otherwise, once the formation is undone, I will immediately turn into a demonic beast and completely lose my mind. At that time, the entire Cloud Heaven City will be destroyed, Yao Rao said. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian was shocked. Note, brothers, I beg for monthly votes. Chapter 355. Yang Dingtian looked at all this in disbelief, but there was a faint uneasiness in his heart. He didn't expect that the aura of the energy black hole could actually arouse the 1,000-year black-tailed demon fox. Does that mean that the demon fox clan worships dark and mysterious things? Then, in this way, will the mixed human race bred by the demon fox clan also worship darkness in the future? It must be known that the offspring bred would not be ordinary offspring, but a powerful race that had undergone 2 evolutions. In the past, after the sea serpent had undergone 2 evolutions, it became the Naga race and had a status close to that of a demigod. When facing humans, it was high and mighty and was completely the overlord of the whole world. Although these higher races eventually succeeded in evolving by borrowing the best part of human genes, without exception, they all regarded humans as a lower race. They wouldn't think highly of humans because of this. To them, humans were nothing more than tools. Now, there was basically no trace of the Naga race. But the former Naga race had brought an incomparably terrible disaster to the world. If an equally powerful race was created, but it worshipped darkness, then the future would be unpredictable. But at present, the most important thing was not just the future, but the current difficulties. In order to sweep away all the rebels in Cloud Sky City in the shortest time possible, Yang Dingtian did not hesitate to use himself as bait. It could be said that failure was not allowed. So, even if there were any serious consequences in the future, it would be better to wait until the future. First, he had to get through the current life and death situation. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian took a deep breath. Suddenly, he felt a strange fragrance assailing his nose. After inhaling, his mind suddenly swayed. At this time, the entire huge dungeon was filled with a pink aura. This 1,000-year demon fox was really strange. The aura emitted from its body was unexpectedly so strong. After Yang Dingtian sniffed a few more times, his mind was completely shaken. That special feeling seemed to fill every cell in his body, crazily destroying his will. This special energy was really powerful. Yang Dingtian was completely unable to suppress it. Moreover, to get rid of Yang Yan, he must get the help of Yao Rao. Only her cultivation base surpassed Yang Yan's. Therefore, there was nothing he could do now. As for the consequences of the birth of such a powerful race, he would think about it in the future. He had to get through the current crisis first. I don't care, today I will be completely presumptuous. Yang Dingtian roared, and suddenly hugged Yan Yan, and jumped toward Alluring Lock's platform. The terrifying flames instantly burned the three of them. After an unknown amount of time, the three of them quieted down with extreme sleepiness. After a long time, someone finally spoke. Yan Yan shyly asked in a low voice, "Big Sister Alluring, are you pregnant with a baby?" Then, she smiled embarrassedly and said, "How could I have known so quickly?" Yao Rao's voice was gentle and hoarse as she stroked her belly and said, "Already pregnant." "Ah!" Yan Yan cried out in surprise, "Are you really pregnant? How could he be so fast? How did you know?" Yao Rao said, "Our demon fox clan is different from you humans. I am extremely sensitive to our body, and I can sense any little change. So I can clearly know that there is already a baby in my belly." "So fast?" Immediately Yan Yan said with envy, "You are really pregnant with a baby, that's great. I was not pregnant until now, don't know if there is no problem with my body." "No, there is no problem." Yao Rao said softly, "I think the reason why you were not pregnant before was probably because of the energy black hole in your body. Later, although your husband forced out that dark crystal, but his body was still affected. I think this time, your body should have recovered." "Why?" Yan Yan asked. "Because the energy of our demon fox clan is especially strong. After this energy indirectly entered your body, it should be able to make up for the injury of your body," Yao Rao said. In the beginning, Yan Yan didn't understand what she meant, but after thinking for a bit, she understood. Suddenly her face became very red, and spat, "Pay, you shameless person, shameless." Then Yan Yan couldn't help but ferociously glared at Yang Dingtian, then forcefully pinched his waist and angrily said, "It's all your fault, all your fault. Later you have to stay away from her." "Yo!" Yao Rao said with a smile, just now who was pestering her husband, and kept on saying that if I don't go, I won't go. "Pay!" Yan Yan glared at Yao Rao and said, "What husband? Don't tell me he is not your husband." Yao Rao said, "In front of me, he is just a little brat who is still wet behind the ears. At most he is the father of my child, but if you want me to recognize him as my husband, that is impossible. My husband, my man, is definitely stronger than me." At this time, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but be startled. People say that men are heartless, but this woman is even more heartless. Then Yao Rao's small hand gently patted Yang Dingtian's cheek and said, "Little man, the relationship between us is basically over. Don't think about other things, and don't fall in love with me. Otherwise you will be very miserable. Of course, I promise to help you, so I will definitely help you." Yang Dingtian suddenly smiled helplessly and nodded his head. On the contrary, Yan Yan was somewhat angry, she turned her face away and ignored Yao Rao. Yao Rao said to Yang Dingtian, "If you want me to follow you to kill people, you have to open the energy array that is locking me." "Yang Dingtian, what do I need to do to open it?" Yao Rao said, "This energy array is jointly arranged by 2 great masters and 4 great masters. It is divided into 6 paths, and you have 2 choices. The first choice is to destroy the 4 great masters level energy ropes, and the yin and yang array will lose its balance and automatically collapse. This requires 4 great masters level powerhouses. Or you can destroy the strongest main energy rope, and the yin and yang array will also lose its balance and collapse. This requires a great master above 5-star level." "Ah!" Yang Dingtian was stunned. "Oh right, these 4 great masters level powerhouses need to be at least 6-star level," Yao Rao said. "If there are 4 great masters above 6-star level, I don't need your help. Yang Dingtian, 5-star level great masters, in the whole world, who has surpassed this level?" Yao Rao said, "After Dongfang Minmi and Shimen Wuya are gone, in the whole world, there are probably no more than 3 people who have reached 5-star level great masters. Then wouldn't the current situation be unsolvable? This demon fox is really cunning, why didn't she mention this energy array before?" Yang Dingtian frowned, looked around the iron cage and said, "But, I can't see this so-called energy array now." Yao Rao stood up, walked to the side of the iron cage, and stretched out her small white hand toward the outside of the iron cage. Just as her little hand touched the edge of the cage, a blue light suddenly burst forth. "Ah!" Yao Rao cried out, and her body was bounced back. A blue scar appeared on her snow-white hand. Did you see that? On the four sides of the cage, there were yin and yang energies facing each other. The upper and lower sides of the cage were also yin and yang. As long as any part of my body leaves the cage, this incomparably huge energy will strike me back. Yao Rao said. Then can we get out? Yan Yan hurriedly stood up and asked. Then, she went to the side of the iron cage and stretched out her small hand. There was no reaction from the iron cage, and Yang Dingtian could enter and exit freely. Yao Rao said, "This formation is only for me, anyone else can freely come and go." Then, the enchanting lady looked at Yang Dingtian and said, "Little man, you want me to go out? You either have to find 4 6-star grandmasters or a 5-star grandmaster to destroy this array." Yan Yan immediately got angry and said, "Yao Rao, how can you do this? You clearly know that my husband can't find 4 grandmasters or even 1 grandmaster to destroy this array. You clearly know that you can't go out, but you still deceived him into doing that with you." Yao Rao said in a sweet voice, "Oh, don't tell me that your husband suffered a loss like this. I think he got a big advantage. I'm afraid that all the men in the world yearn for this kind of deception." Then, the two women began to quarrel unceasingly. Lon Ling didn't pay attention to them, and closed his eyes to feel the array of this iron cage. However, he couldn't feel the existence of any energy. Then, Yang Dingtian summoned the million-spirit demon fire. Boom! Then, he split the million-spirit demon fire into countless parts, which spread throughout the entire iron cage. Yao Rao looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief and said, "Heavens, little man. Other people can dominate the world with just one mystic flame, but you have 2. One is a heaven and earth mystic flame, and the other is an overlord of the dark energy. I'm afraid that in less than 10 years, you will dominate the entire human world." Yang Dingtian didn't pay attention to her, but Yan Yan said in disdain, "Didn't you say that you don't care about my husband? Just a moment ago, you were still pretending to be high and mighty. Just wait, when my husband reaches the top of the world, he won't look at a vixen like you. At that time, even if you want to get close to him, it will be too late." Yao Rao said in a sweet voice, "Dominating the human world doesn't mean that you can dominate the world. Don't worry, I will never come to snatch your husband." Yang Dingtian didn't pay attention to the crazy words of these two women, but let the countless mystic flames radiant sense the energy fluctuations in the surroundings. These countless mystic flames were very sensitive. As long as there was a trace of energy fluctuation, the mystic flames would sway and ripple. At that time, Yang Dingtian used this point to find the entrance to the netherworld sea in the boundless sea. However, these countless mystic flames were quiet from beginning to end, without any trace of fluctuation. That's right, the array of this iron cage was in absolute balance. The entire iron cage was divided into 6 sides, the 2 sides facing each other, respectively yin and yang. Yin and yang cancelled each other out. Therefore, it seemed as if there was no energy inside the iron cage. However, the energy source was Yao Rao herself, so as long as Yao Rao left the iron cage, the balance of the array would be destroyed, and the powerful array would pour in all the energy to restore the balance, so that Yao Rao would be bounced back into the iron cage. Therefore, if he wanted to destroy the entire array, he would have to destroy the 4 sides of the yin and yang array. Otherwise, he would have to destroy the most important bottom side, the yang array. However, that would require 4 master-level experts, or 1 great master-level expert. However, Yang Dingtian definitely couldn't do that. Moreover, he didn't have such formidable power in his hands. If he did, he wouldn't have needed Yao Rao's help to get rid of Yang Yan. "I will try to bombard it with million-spirit demon flame," Yang Dingtian said. "It's useless," Yao Rao said. "Million-spirit demon flame is incomparably powerful, it can burn through all energy walls," Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yang Dingtian condensed the million-spirit demon flame. Condense. Condense it to the pinnacle, pour in his Xian energy to the pinnacle. The current million-spirit demon flame is blood-red in color and incomparably beautiful. It can be said that the current million-spirit demon flame is almost invincible. Go! Yang Dingtian suddenly released it. The million-spirit demon flame turned into an energy arrow and shot out. Swoosh! Immediately, the other side of the iron cage turned into ashes. The black iron pillar directly vaporized and disappeared without a trace. It didn't even have time to melt. Without waiting for Yang Dingtian's instruction, Yao Rao stepped forward and stretched her small hand out of the iron cage. Bang! Blue light flashed, Yao Rao cried out in pain and was sent flying back. This iron cage still has an extremely powerful energy array, Yao Rao can't even touch it. It's useless to bombard it with Xian flame. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, then use darkness Xian flame. This energy black hole can devour all static energy. Immediately, Yang Dingtian summoned darkness Xian flame from his soul ring. Then, he let it burn quietly. It became darker and darker. Immediately, the entire prison was filled with strange and mysterious dark energy. Ah! Yao Rao let out a delicate cry and collapsed on the ground. Her entire body seemed to have lost all strength. What kind of special demonic power does this darkness Xian flame have to be able to achieve this kind of effect? Originally, this darkness Xian flame was already very mysterious. Now, in Yang Dingtian's heart, this thing became even more mysterious. Yan Yan giggled and said, husband, if she doesn't listen to you in the future or acts pretentious, you can directly summon darkness Xian flame and she'll turn into a pile of mud. You can do whatever you want to her. Yang Dingtian pinched Yan Yan's small mouth, then looked at Yao Rao who was lying on the ground in an incomparably miserable state and shook his head helplessly. This girl is really, even at this time, she still has the mood to make this kind of joke. Go ahead, I can endure it. Yao Rao said in a hoarse voice. Yang Dingtian came to one side of the iron cage, then used darkness Xian flame to burn the energy wall on this side. Darkness Xian flame was enough to devour all kinds of energy, so there shouldn't be any problem. However, Yang Dingtian completely didn't feel darkness Xian flame devouring any kind of energy. The entire darkness Xian flame was only burning quietly and didn't have any reaction. It was as if this energy wall didn't have any energy. It was really strange. Darkness Xian flame burning this energy wall actually didn't have any effect. It's useless. This energy array is usually in an absolute balance, so its energy is completely zero. All the energy primers are in my body. As long as I leave, it will activate a powerful energy array. Yao Rao said while trembling, so, there's another way to destroy this array, and that is to kill me. Yang Dingtian couldn't help but take a deep breath and kept darkness Xian flame back into the soul ring. Master Dongfang Minmi and Shimen Wuya were really too smart. They actually created such an almost unsolvable energy array. Even Yang Dingtian's darkness Xian flame was unable to break it. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but give himself a slap. This array was set up by Master Dongfang Minmi. Why didn't he ask Master? Instead he was blindly pondering about it. Immediately, Yang Dingtian hurriedly summoned Dongfang Minmi in his mind and said, Master, I want to save Yao Rao. Is there any way to break this yin-yang energy array? Of course, it's a piece of cake. Dongfang Minmi said straightforwardly. Master Dongfang Minmi's words really made Yang Dingtian overjoyed at this turn of events. It's good that there is a way. Otherwise, everything before would have been in vain. Note, a chapter of close to 5,000 words. Everyone, please give a monthly vote to encourage pastries. Furthermore, it's already the end of the month. Brothers who have monthly votes, if you don't give them, it will be a waste. Waste is the original sin. Chapter 356. What should I do? Yang Dingtian asked. Dongfang Minmi said, then tell me first, why did you let her go? Yang Dingtian said, I need to wipe out all the rebels in Cloud Sky City in one fell swoop. I don't have time. I have already gathered all the rebels. I need to use Yarao's power. Dongfang Minmi said, all the rebels in Cloud Sky City? Yang Dingtian said, that's right. Dongfang Minmi said in shock, but there are tens of thousands of people. There are dozens of martial honorables and the martial masters around Qinhuayu. It's impossible for Yao Rao to kill them all by herself. Of course, she can't do it alone. But with 2 martial masters and a few martial honorables, I think it should be enough. Yang Dingtian said. Dongfang Minmi sighed deeply and said, child, I know you are ambitious. No matter what, you are stronger than me. If you say you can do it, then you can definitely do it. But you should know that once Yarao leaves the formation, she will turn into a demonic beast. The demonic fox clan despises humans. Plus, she is angry from being imprisoned for more than 10 years. She will definitely become ferocious and start a massacre. At that time, the entire Cloud Sky City will be destroyed. When she turns into a demonic beast, with her cultivation close to that of a 9-star martial grandmaster, no one can defeat her. What? Yang Dingtian said in shock, her demonic beast form is actually a 9-star martial grandmaster? Yang Dingtian sucked in a breath of cold air. A 9-star great master was only one step away from becoming a saint-class expert. That was truly invincible. If Yao Rao is a 9-star martial grandmaster, how did you and martial uncle Shiman successfully imprison her? Yang Dingtian asked. That's because she has a fatal flaw. So, more than 10 martial masters and 2 martial grandmasters were able to capture her and imprison her in Cloud Sky City's dungeon. Dongfang Minmi said, once she escapes the seal of the formation, she will immediately transform into a demonic beast. At that time, no one in the world will be able to defeat her. So no matter what, I won't let you undo his energy array. Child, no matter what you did in the past, Master would always support you, but this is absolutely not the case. Yang Dingtian said, Master, don't worry. This time, after Yao Rao leaves the formation, she will still be in her human form. She won't go crazy. Why? Dongfang Minmi said, once she turns into a demonic beast, she uses another part of her brain, which is completely different from her human form. She can't control herself at all. Yang Dingtian suddenly felt a little embarrassed and said, because she is pregnant. What? Dongfang Minmi screamed in horror. Ever since he had entered Yang Dingtian's mind, Yang Dingtian had never seen him lose his composure like this. He had never let out such a horrified voice. Whose child is her? Dongfang Minmi asked. It's mine, Master. Yang Dingtian said. Impossible. She can't be in heat with humans, so it's impossible for her to get pregnant. This is the fate of her race. Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian said, they are in heat with energy black holes, so my dark profound flame made her in heat. Immediately, Dongfang Minmi fell into silence. After a long time, he opened his mouth and said, Heavens! Heavens! Little Tian, do you know what you've done? Do you know what you've done? Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, Master, I want to ask, why did you send so many experts to kill Yao Rao? Dongfang Minmi said, since you can ask this question, it means that you've realized the seriousness of the problem. There's something you need to understand. Back then, it wasn't me and your martial uncle Shiman who worked together to kill Yao Rao. Instead, it was the entire Tiando League that sent all the grandmasters and great-grandmasters to kill Yao Rao. Furthermore, this matter was classified as a top secret. What? Yang Dingtian said in shock, the entire Tiando League was hunting her down? That's right. At that time, more than 50 grandmasters and 5 great-grandmasters were dispatched. They were divided into 3 teams and chased her for more than 100,000 miles before they successfully captured her. Dongfang Minmi said. Yang Dingtian said in shock, if Yao Rao is so powerful, why was she imprisoned in Cloud Sky City's dungeon and not in the Yinyang School or the Black Heaven Sect's dungeon? Cloud Sky City's position in the Tiando League isn't high. Dongfang Minmi said, that's because we captured her near Cloud Sky City. She was too powerful. We were afraid that a long delay would cause trouble, so we didn't have time to transfer her to the Yinyang School or the Black Heaven Sect. Moreover, this Yao Rao was like a huge bomb that could blow up everything at any time, so most of the forces didn't dare to imprison her. It was Shiman Wuya who took the initiative to set up an energy formation under Cloud Sky City's dungeon to lock her up. Yang Dingtian was shocked speechless for a long time. He said, Master, why is it like this? This Yao Rao, who exactly is she? She came from the Little Western Paradise, which is another world of the primal chaos world. We don't know where it is, but there's no doubt that she doesn't belong to our world. Dongfang Nimi said, originally, they were just powerful demon beasts of the Fox clan. One day, they were tempted by the dark demon dragon at the edge of the world. They were possessed by the dark demon dragon and gave birth to this demon Fox clan. This demon Fox clan instantly became extremely powerful, but they had a fatal flaw. The forms they took were also completely different. Some turned into demons, some turned into ghosts, and all kinds of strange shapes. Only a few demon foxes could take human form. Although these second-generation demon foxes were incomparably powerful, most of them had fatal flaws. They were either afraid of light or water, or they would suddenly die, go crazy, or cause a plague to the entire clan. Only the demon foxes that took human form were the healthiest, even though they still had huge flaws. Therefore, the demon fox clan sent a very small number of demon foxes to the human world in an attempt to mate with humans and give birth to a perfect and powerful clan. Just like Naga tens of thousands of years ago. Yang Dingtian said, Master, I know this. She told me. Dongfang Minmi said, then she definitely didn't tell you that she's almost the only female demon fox in human form in the world. As long as she's dead, the entire demon fox clan will be completely destroyed. Yang Dingtian's body shook, and he couldn't help but feel his blood run cold. That's right, Yao Rao didn't say this. She deliberately skipped this point to give Yang Dingtian an illusion, as if in the demon fox clan, she, Yao Rao, was completely insignificant. But he didn't think that she was almost the only hope of the demon fox clan. Since that's the case, why didn't Master kill her at that time, but only imprisoned her? Yang Dingtian asked. Of course I want to kill her, but we can't do it. Dongfang Minmi said, this demon fox clan has an incomparably powerful attribute, and that is, they have many lives. She can have a maximum of 9 lives, and if we kill her, we can kill her. If we kill her, she will quickly be reborn thousands of miles away. So if we kill her, it's equivalent to letting her go. Although she will become weak, and her cultivation will degrade greatly, but it's absolutely impossible to capture her again. This time, Yang Dingtian really sucked in a mouthful of cold air. Although this Yao Rao was a peerless beauty, and Yang Dingtian knew that she was an exception, but he didn't know that she was actually so strange, so mysterious, so important, and so powerful. She actually had several lives. This was completely against the heaven's will. Master, let's be straightforward. This Yao Rao is going to walk the path of the Naga clan. Yang Dingtian said, but, even if they become the new Naga clan, they may not necessarily do much harm to the human race. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Naga clan did not harm the human race. Silly child, then do you know, in the era of the Naga clan, how many civilizations were there on the seabed? How many powerful races were there? Yang Dingtian asked. There was a civilization on the seabed? Yang Dingtian asked. Of course, now most of the ancient artifacts, ancient secret books, all came from the seabed civilization. Tens of thousands of years ago, the seabed civilization was more prosperous than the land civilization. Dongfang Minmi said, but only after the birth of the near demigod Naga clan, the seabed civilization was completely wiped out. The number of seabed races that were killed was in the hundreds of millions, no more than billions. The number of enslaved seabed races was in the hundreds of millions, no less than billions. In the end, there was only one powerful and intelligent race left on the seabed, and that was the Naga clan. The rest of the underwater races had all become stupid slaves and lost their civilization. At that time, when the Naga clan dominated the world, why was the human civilization preserved? That was because the Naga clan lived on the seabed and had no interest in the space on the land. Yang Dingtian was completely shocked and speechless. He really didn't know anything about the Naga clan slaughtering the seabed civilizations. Dongfang Minmi said, "Little Tian, the Naga clan is a seabed civilization. But the Fox clan is a land civilization. If the extremely powerful and perfect land Naga clan is really born, then the end of the human race will really come. That is a catastrophe more terrible than evil ways. You can imagine, a race with thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Yang Dingtian's talents, how terrible would it be? You are destined to break through to the martial saint realm, then when a race has thousands of martial saints, what will the result be? What result? It is completely unimaginable. In the current chaotic world, as long as a martial saint is born, then he can become the world's overlord, and the sect he belongs to will immediately become the world's supreme. They can drive out one of the three sects and be ranked among them. If there are thousands of martial saints, then all the human countries in the world will become slaves. There will be a great calamity, the world will be turned upside down, and the whole world will be completely destroyed." Yang Dingtian said, "The great calamity 10,000 years ago, perhaps, was the Naga clan's heaven-defying strength and suffered the wrath of the heavens." Dongfang Minmi took a deep breath and said, "Child, you are very smart. After I became a martial grandmaster, I abandoned martial arts and wholeheartedly pursued the ultimate truth of this world, the truth of the ancient world's calamity. A few years later, I began to suspect the Naga clan." Finally, Dongfang Minmi took a deep breath and said, "Child, what have you decided to do now?" Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, "Perhaps, after Yao Rao gives birth to the child, I will give the child to Yen Yen to raise. Then, I will imprison Yao Rao for life." Dongfang Minmi said with a trembling voice, but that child is very likely to be the new demigod clan in the future, and will bring the end of the human race. Even if he doesn't do so, his descendants may do so." Yang Dingtian said, "My child may not be the new land Naga clan as you said. But as you said, I can only say that I love the world, but I love my family even more. I will not harm him." But... Dongfang Minmi's voice was completely trembling. Yang Dingtian took a deep breath and said, "Master, I can guarantee that I will protect him for life. I will also watch him for life, until I leave this world." "Understood." Dongfang Minmi sighed and said. Yang Dingtian replied, "If that's the case, I will not release Yao Rao. I will just imprison her here for all eternity." Dongfang Minmi sighed and said, "The child in her belly is the most important. Since you have already decided the fate of the child in her belly, it doesn't matter to her. You can temporarily release her, because you can imprison her again at any time." "Oh? There is such a thing?" Yang Dingtian said. "Of course." Dongfang Minmi said, "Do you know where the energy formation that imprisons Yao Rao comes from? It is the energy formation released by 2 great grandmasters and 4 great grandmasters at that time." Yang Dingtian said. "Of course not, that was just a misconception to give Yao Rao, making her have hope that she would be able to escape one day. In fact, the energy of this energy formation prison completely comes from her own body." Dongfang Minmi said, "Her body is a 9-star great grandmaster, only 1 step away from the saint-level expert. Therefore, the energy of her body is more than enough to imprison her human form." "Ah!" Yang Dingtian was stunned again. He really did not expect that the energy formation that imprisons Yao Rao actually came from her demon beast body. No wonder, no matter whether it was energy bombardment, mysterious fire burning, or even dark mysterious fire, it was useless. Dongfang Minmi said, "Child, if you want Yao Rao to escape, you only need to cut off the connection between her human form and her demon beast body. In fact, even if you don't do anything, she will gradually escape. Why? Because she is pregnant? Yang Dingtian said. That's right. Dongfang Minmi said, the fetus in her belly will make her stay in human form for a long time. In this way, she will temporarily lose the connection with her demon beast body. Then, her demonic beast body would be able to provide a powerful energy, so the energy prison would also disappear. After she gives birth to the child, the energy prison will immediately recover. Master, how many days will it take for her to completely lose the connection with her demon beast body? Yang Dingtian asked. In about 3 months, her energy prison will disappear, and she will temporarily regain her freedom. Dongfang Minmi said. 3 months is too long. Yang Dingtian said. Dongfang Minmi said, for other people, perhaps cutting off the connection between Yao Rao and her demon beast body is extremely difficult, or even impossible. But for you, it is completely easy, because you have the Darkness Profound Flame. The Darkness Profound Flame is almost the highest level of energy in this world, and it can swallow all kinds of energy. So you know, when you enter her Qi Sea, there will be a hazy fox-light shadow in the depths of her Qi Sea, and that is her demon beast body. This light figure will have an extremely weak ray of light that will extend out and connect with her humanoid body. You only need to use a small amount of Darkness Profound Flame to intercept this ray of light. Then, you can completely sever the connection between her and the demonic beast. At that time, the energy prison will automatically disappear. In this way, restoring Yarao's freedom was really a piece of cake for Yang Dingtian. Master, if I restore her freedom, she will immediately run away and return to the Little Western Paradise. What should I do then? Yang Dingtian asked. That won't happen. Dongfang Minmi said, at least before she gives birth to the child, she will not be able to leave you. The fetus in her bosom is different from humans, it needs the mother to continuously inject special energy. And this kind of energy, she will only have it when she is in heat. So before the child is born, she won't leave you. Yang Dingtian looked at the enchanting body on the ground. It was really the most alluring body in the world. She was definitely the most beautiful woman in the world. She was definitely the most beautiful woman in the world. It's decided. Let Yao Rao give birth to the child, and then imprison her for eternity. Yang Dingtian looked at Yao Rao and said, I have a way to restore your freedom, but I'm afraid you will be even more in a mess. Yao Rao coquettishly cast a glance at Yang Dingtian, and said, as long as you can restore my freedom, it doesn't matter how unbearable I am. You can also do whatever you want to me. That's good. Yang Dingtian said, close your eyes, put down all your defenses, and let me enter your Qi Sea. Yao Rao was slightly startled, then she chuckled and said, okay. You trust me that much? Qi Sea is a person's fatal point, if by any chance I attack you, you will die without a doubt. Yang Dingtian said. Yao Rao said with a smile, because I have your child in my belly, you won't harm me no matter what. Yang Dingtian smiled gently, but there was a chill in his heart. Yao Rao indeed didn't tell him the truth, because she had several lives. If Yang Dingtian really killed her, she would immediately be free. Yang Dingtian helped Yao Rao to sit down, then sat cross-legged behind her, and placed his palm on her lower abdomen. Sure enough, Yao Rao completely relaxed all her defenses. Yang Dingtian's spirit energy and mystic flame had easily entered her qi vessel. Her waist and abdomen were compact and small, but her qi sea was incomparably broad and vast, who knows how many times bigger than a human's qi sea. From this, it could be seen how powerful her innate talent was as a race that had been tempted by the dark devil dragon. In the core of the Qi Sea that was almost boundless, as if it was a separate small world, Yang Dingtian indeed saw a snow-white radiant little fox. It was incomparably cute and beautiful, and it was staring at Yang Dingtian's profound fire and energy with full of vigilance. This little fox was Yarao's demonic beast true form. At this moment, it opened its mouth and spat out a ray of light, which spread out and directly surrounded Yarao's entire body. This was the connection energy line between Yarao's human form and her true form. Taking a deep breath, he suddenly split out a little bit of dark profound fire, and directly released it, directly cutting off this snow-white energy line. Whoosh! Immediately, the energy line was cut off. That beautiful little fox in the core of the cheese sea frantically jumped, but in the end, it gradually faded away. Ah! Immediately after, Yaorao cried out. She clearly felt that her body suddenly became light. Immediately after, she hurriedly stood up, went to the outside of the iron cage, and carefully stretched out her little hand. Because, that kind of feeling of being hit back by the energy wall was too unforgettable. Huff! She directly stretched out her little hand, but there was no energy wall, and it did not bounce her back. The energy prison disappeared. Immediately, Yaorao collapsed to the ground, sobbing silently. Yang Dingtian could not even imagine that this woman could actually cry. More than 10 years, I have been imprisoned for more than 10 years, today, I am finally free, I am free. Yaorao cried while looking at Yang Dingtian with her soul-sucking beautiful eyes, and said, all of this is bestowed by my husband, I don't know how you did it, I don't dare to believe that you actually did it. But you gave me my freedom. From now on, you are my sky, my husband. If it was before, Yang Dingtian's mind might have swayed for a while. But now, he could only sigh slightly. This was because only the heavens knew which words of this vixen's were true and which were false. At least for now, this sentence did not sound very true. She was from the most dangerous race in the world, but at least before she gave birth to a baby, she would always listen to Yang Dingtian's words. As for what she would do after giving birth to the baby, or directly kill Yang Dingtian, only God knew. Okay, you are free, let's go out. Yang Dingtian said. 3 days later, Yang Dingtian brought 1,000 people, including the disguised Yaorao, Zhao Liao, and Madame Shimin, and left Cloud Sky City, heading for Rose Villa. In Cloud Sky City, nearly 10,000 people sent them off, their eyes fervently looking at their city lord. Chapter 357. The Yang clan had controlled Cloud Heaven City for a few hundred years. Therefore, after Shimin Wuya's purge, only the cunning Yang Yan's faction remained in the upper echelons of Cloud Heaven City. The rest of the Yang clan members were all purged. However, it was very difficult to purge the Yang clan's faction at the basic level. At this moment, there was such a force in Cloud Heaven City. There were about 1,000 people. Most of them had the surname Yang, even though their bloodline was very distant from Yang Yan's and they were only one family a few hundred years ago. Therefore, if Yang Zheng was the most direct descendant of the Yang clan in Cloud Heaven City, then these Yang clan warriors and Yang Zheng's bloodline were very distant. However, there was one thing that couldn't be changed. Their surname was Yang. Therefore, from their roots, from their bones, this group of people was only loyal to the Yang clan and Yang Zheng. At this moment, almost all the basic level warriors and young disciples in Cloud Heaven City supported Yang Dingtian from the bottom of their hearts. Only these 1,000 people were against Yang Dingtian from the bottom of their hearts and hated Yang Dingtian. This group of people were basically Yang Yan's direct subordinates. Yang Yan and the others had been educating them on how to demonize Yang Dingtian almost every day. After Yang Yan, Yang Zheng, Shimin Ju, and the others left Cloud Heaven City, these 1,000 people were the last force that opposed Yang Dingtian. Now, Yang Dingtian was leading these 1,000 people to Rose Villa. Therefore, Yang Dingtian didn't get any good looks from these 1,000 people. Even if Yang Dingtian was the Cloud Heaven City Lord. 30 miles outside of Cloud Heaven City. Alright, you guys can go back. Yang Dingtian said to Yan Yan, Shimin Lai, and Mu Lianqing who came to send him off. Shimin Lai's entire face was like steel. He really hoped that Yang Dingtian could bring him to Rose Villa. However, he had no choice but to obey Yang Dingtian's orders to stay behind. Big brother, take care of the house. Yang Dingtian said, make all the preparations and wait for my return. Plain clothes, destroy everything. Yes, city lord. Shimin Lai knelt and said. Yang Dingtian walked in front of Mu Lianqing and said, Uncle Mu, take care of your body. Don't overwork yourself. Yes, city lord. Mu Lianqing knelt down. Yang Dingtian walked in front of Li Guinong and said, Uncle Masterly, we'll have to rely on you in Cloud Sky City. Li Guinong frowned and said, Nephew, do you really not need me to go with you? Yang Dingtian said, Cloud Sky City needs Martial Uncle's help even more. Alright, Li Guinong said. Don't worry, I'll do my best. Yang Dingtian walked to Yen Yen and said softly, Baby, wait for me to come back. Yen Yen held back her tears and nodded. Yang Dingtian's palm gently brushed Yen Yen's cheek. Then, he mounted the horse and shouted towards the south, Let's go. Madame Shimin and Jiao Liao mounted their horses. The enchanting maid in disguise mounted their horses. Then, under Yang Dingtian's lead, over 1,000 Yang clan cavalrymen galloped towards the Rose Manor in the southwest like blazing flames. Normally, Yang Yen would demonize Yang Dingtian the most, which was his absurd shamelessness. He would create rumors about Yang Dingtian and Madame Shimin, which had reached the most ridiculous stage. Therefore, in the eyes of these 1,000 Yang clan cavalrymen, Yang Dingtian was definitely a shameless person. This time, the three people that Yang Dingtian brought out were all great beauties, which seemed to prove this point. Yang Dingtian didn't just bring out the outstanding beauty Madame Shimin, he also brought out the enchanting Jiao Liao. These two were members of the Elder Guild and were even martial supreme experts, so it was reasonable to bring them out. However, the vixen-like maid beside him didn't have the strength to truss a chicken and only had one purpose. He actually brought so many women with him on an expedition. If this wasn't absurd, then what was? You don't know the difference between life and death. The commander of the Yang clan's personal army, Yang Zhu, looked coldly at Yang Dingtian. However, he couldn't help but look at the maid beside Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian's maid was called Yang Hongyi, who was rarely seen before. When she showed up, she really stunned countless people. This woman had the pure and exquisite face of an angel, but she had the figure of a devil. Therefore, among the three women behind Yang Dingtian, even if there was a woman like Madame Shimin, most of the men couldn't help but look at Yang Hongyi. This Yang Hongyi was, of course, the enchanting woman. Yang Dingtian asked her to disguise herself, but she said there was no need and that she could change her appearance. Yang Dingtian asked her to change into a pretty but not too eye-catching woman. Who knew that this woman would become like this? Most of the time, Yang Dingtian really couldn't do anything about this vixen. Rose Mountain Villa was about 500 miles away from Cloud Heaven City. At this speed, according to the fastest rapid march, they could reach it in about a day. However, Rose Mountain Villa was deep in the mountains, so the road conditions were very bad. Therefore, even after the sky had turned dark, Yang Dingtian's army had only covered half the distance. Of course, Yang Dingtian wasn't in a hurry at all. There was still a full day before the army would meet. Therefore, when the sky turned dark, Yang Dingtian gave the order to set up camp and rest. The city lord has ordered us to set up camp and rest by the water. The Jiao Liao quickly rushed to various places in the army and gave Yang Dingtian's order. However, the 1,000 over Yang clan's personal army continued to march forward, ignoring Yang Dingtian's orders. Yang Dingtian rode his horse to the front of Commander Yang Zhu and said, Commander Yang, it's dark. Immediately give the order to set up camp. Yang Zhu said, reporting to the city lord, I think we should continue marching until we meet up with the main army before resting. The military situation in Rose Mountain Villa is like fire. The earlier we arrive, the more likely the thousands of people in Rose Mountain Villa will have a chance to survive. The city lord should consider the big picture, so one less night of sleep shouldn't be a big deal. After saying that, Yang Zhu glanced at the enchanting woman beside Yang Dingtian. His gaze was very impudent and even had a hint of lust. No, set up camp here. Yang Dingtian said coldly, I'm not asking for your opinion. This is an order. Yang Zhu said coldly, I'm sorry. The order that the Great Elder gave me is to rush to Rose Mountain Villa at the fastest speed and meet up with the main army. Therefore, please forgive me for not being able to comply. Madame Shimin said coldly, impudent. Should you listen to the city lord's order or the Great Elder's order? Yang Zhu glanced at Yang Dingtian. If the city lord wants to rest, then send a message to the Great Elder and ask him to change the military order. Naturally, I will order the army to rest. Yang Dingtian looked at Yang Zhu coldly and sighed. Are you really going to disobey my orders? Of course, he wasn't just referring to the Yang family's personal army disobeying Yang Dingtian's orders. Instead, he was referring to whether the Yang family's personal army was really going to go against Yang Dingtian to the end. This time, Yang Dingtian's purge included the Yang family's personal army. However, there were too many people in this group, so Yang Dingtian wanted to give them one last chance. Yang Zhu's gaze revealed a hint of mockery and he was about to say something hurtful. Wait, think carefully before you say anything. Yang Dingtian looked at Yang Zhu and said, Isn't it good for me to be the city lord of Cloud Heaven City? Isn't it natural? You all obey my orders, and I value you. Isn't that good? I know that some people say that I'm absurd and shameless, saying that as long as it's a woman, I won't let her go. Do you believe these words from the bottom of your heart? Or to put it more bluntly, do you really believe that there's something going on between me and my mother-in-law? When Yang Dingtian said this, Madame Shimin's expression didn't change at all. She just stared at Yang Zhu with a firm gaze. Yang Zhu smiled and said, Whether there's something going on or not, only you know in your hearts. Moreover, even if there's nothing going on, if you want us to support you, it'll be impossible unless the mountains and rivers split apart and the rivers and seas flow backward. I'm not like some women who forget about their ancestors after having a man. The men of the Yang family are all heroes, unlike the women of the Yang family who are all weak in the knees. After being deceived by Shimin, they were deceived by the Yang family's people. They've completely disgraced the reputation of the Yang family. When he said this, Madame Shimin's beautiful face suddenly trembled and instantly turned pale. You still know shame? That's really not easy. Yang Zhu sneered. I thought your brain was filled with other things. Yang Zhu had been with his subordinates for a long time, so the words he said were really explicit. Moreover, he said this sentence very loudly, as if he was afraid that the Yang family's soldiers around him couldn't hear him. Hearing such vulgar words, the Yang family's soldiers looked at Madame Shimin impudently without a shred of respect. Little Tian, I know your intentions. You don't have to care about my thoughts. Madame Shimin looked at Yang Dingtian. Remember, my surname is Shimin, not Yang. Why don't you just use the surname Yang? Yang Dingtian, Yang Zhu said with a smile. Ha ha ha. The laughter of the Yang family's soldiers resounded throughout the mountains. Got it, mother-in-law. Yang Dingtian said calmly as he looked at the 1,000 or so Yang family's soldiers. Just now, it was the last chance he gave them. However, they received the most vicious response. So be it. Yang Dingtian smiled at Yang Zhu and said, All right then, we'll follow Commander Yang's wishes and continue marching. Yang Zhu replied calmly. Then, the 1,000 or so Yang family's soldiers continued marching along the mountain path toward Rose Villa. In the middle of the night, Yang Dingtian was marching on the mountain peak. The 2 moons above his head were especially bright and round. Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt a little strange because the 2 moons were always blocked by a strange shadow. No matter where Yang Dingtian went, the shadow always blocked the 2 snow-white moons. Whoosh! Yang Dingtian suddenly flew into the air. Flapping his wings, Yang Dingtian flew higher and higher. 1,000 meters in the sky, he saw a gigantic winged demon moth. It was flying above Yang Dingtian's head, so from Yang Dingtian's direction, it always blocked the 2 snow-white moons. Yang Dingtian reached out and was about to catch the gigantic winged demon moth. Suddenly, a flame appeared, and the gigantic winged demon moth suddenly burned fiercely. Then, the flames quickly formed a few words. "Don't go to Rose Villa. There's an inescapable net waiting for you. I know you have something to rely on, but this time, you will definitely die." These words quickly disappeared from Yang Dingtian's vision. Then, the gigantic winged demon moth completely turned into ashes. Yang Dingtian was astonished. Someone actually warned him. Who could this person be? Not only did he know that Yang Dingtian and Yang Dingtian wanted to set up a trap to harm him, he also knew that Yang Dingtian had made the relevant preparations and planned to catch all the rebels in one fell swoop. The most important thing was that sentence, "I know you have something to rely on, but this time, you will definitely die." Suddenly, Yang Dingtian felt a dangerous aura. The snow-white moonlight also suddenly became cold and austere. Yang Dingtian landed on the warhorse. Mrs. Shimin hurried forward and asked, "Little Tian, what's wrong?" Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, "Nothing, mother-in-law." The next day, the sun set in the west. Yang Dingtian finally arrived outside the valley of Rose Villa. At this time, outside the valley, flags were fluttering. There were military camps everywhere. It was slightly different from what Yang Dingtian had imagined. There were not only 10,000 soldiers here, but close to 20,000. Shimin Ju had brought over 4,000 men from Black Blood Castle and other places. Yang Zheng had brought over 3,000 men from Abyss Castle and other places. As for Yang Yen, he had gathered over 10,000 men from various large territories. All the feudal lords within 1,000 miles of Cloud Heaven City had sent out their elites. Not only that, but there was also an army from the Tiando League's northwest branch, even though there were only 1,000 of them. Furthermore, the Tiando League's northwest branch had sent out dozens of observers. Yang Dingtian led dozens of officers from the Yang clan's personal army and directly entered the main camp. Yang Yen led Shimin Ju, Yang Zheng, Yin Bieli, Zhou Boning, and the others, as well as dozens of feudal lords of Cloud Heaven City. They all knelt down and shouted in unison, "Subordinate Yang Yen leads all the subjects of Cloud Heaven City to greet the city lord." This group of feudal lords within Cloud Heaven City's territory would not have knelt down to Yang Dingtian, but at this time, everyone actually knelt down. Without a doubt, this was because they were kneeling as though they were already dead. Even the Iron Sword sect's sect master looked at Yang Dingtian with a completely cold and cruel gaze, as though he was looking at a dead man. This was because in many people's opinion, Yang Dingtian had fallen into the trap alone and was definitely going to die. The key was how he was going to die. This was because at this moment, Yang Dingtian only had 3 people by his side. As for them, there were a total of 20,000 to 30,000 people, and there were dozens of martial honorables. Furthermore, many people's gazes towards Yang Dingtian's enchanting body became naked, as though they had already become spoils of war. Yang Dingtian rode on his horse and looked at Yang Yen and the others who were kneeling on the ground. He smiled and said, "Get up, great elder." Then, Yang Dingtian led the way and directly headed towards the middle of the tent. From the beginning to the end, he did not get down from his horse. Madame Shimin, Jiao Liao and Yao Rao did not get down from their horses either. They directly followed Yang Dingtian into the tent. Although they were in the wilderness, the central tent was still incomparably comfortable. There was a soft carpet, countless fruits, piles of fine wine, and burning spices. Yang Dingtian walked into the large tent and sat on the commander's seat in the center. He was half lying down, appearing unbridled and comfortable. The enchanting maid, Hong Yi, stepped forward and took off Yang Dingtian's boots. Then, she lifted his leg and placed it on her thigh, gently tapping it. Jiao Liao stepped forward and poured fine wine for Yang Dingtian. Then, she stood behind him and gently massaged his temples. Yang Dingtian closed his eyes comfortably as if he was enjoying the service from the two of them. Yang Yen led everyone into the tent and saw this scene. Countless men's eyes shot out a fiery light. Jiao Liao and Yang Hongyi, any one of them was a peerless beauty that countless men yearned for even in their dreams. Now, Yang Dingtian actually had both of them. Moreover, they were serving him in such a lowly manner. At this time, Madame Shimin stepped forward, plucked a grape, and directly stuffed it into Yang Dingtian's mouth. Everyone's eyes almost fell out. Although there were rumors of Madame Shimin and Yang Dingtian having an affair, most people knew that it was just a rumor. Now, she was actually serving him in such a manner. Could it be that Yang Dingtian's ambition had reached such a point? Then, he was really seeking death. Yang Yan, what's the situation at Rose Villa? Yang Dingtian asked. Reporting to City Lord, the barbarian race has broken through the villa and has occupied the entire Rose Villa. Yang Yan said, moreover, the several hundred people in Rose Villa have become the barbarian race's hostages. Bastard! Yang Dingtian fiercely threw the wine cup in his hand, smashing it on Yang Yan's face and sternly said, "What are you doing? You clearly arrived here a few days ago, but you still let the barbarian race break through Rose Villa? Who was the first army to arrive here?" Yang Yan's face was directly smashed with wine. The muscles on his face twitched as he bowed and said, "It was Fire Wolf Fort's iron stupa. Fire Wolf Fort had the blood of the barbarian race. 100 years ago, they came out of the Sunset Mountain Range. After a few fierce battles with Cloud Sky City, they became a feudal lord of Cloud Sky City. Although their forces were only in the top 10, the army they led was very savage and sharp. Very few people dared to provoke them. In short, they were the most troublesome force in Cloud Sky City. Fire Wolf Fort's iron stupa, come out!" Yang Dingtian shouted. Suddenly, a hideous martial artist with a face full of tattoos and horns on his head walked out. He was unruly and stared at Yang Dingtian like a wild beast. "How many people did you bring with you?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Give me the women beside you, and I'll tell you," Iron Stupa said, staring at Madame Shimin with fiery eyes. "Impudent! Tell me the truth," Yang Yan shouted. Iron Stupa opened his mouth and said, "I brought 1,500 people. When I arrived, I happened to see Rose Villa being broken through." Yang Dingtian said sternly, "Why didn't you attack the barbarian race army? Why didn't you save Rose Villa?" "Hee hee." Iron Stupa sneered. "You didn't give me the beauties beside you. Why should I save them?" Yang Dingtian stood up and looked at Tai Futu. He spoke in a cold voice, "You are also from the Sunset Mountain Range's barbarian race. The reason why you didn't save him is obviously because you colluded with the barbarian army and colluded with outsiders. Men, drag Iron Stupa out and behead him. Where are the Yang family's troops? Follow me to attack Rose Villa and kill the barbarian race army." As soon as he said this, everyone was shocked. No one expected Yang Dingtian to kill the most rebellious feudal lord in the territory, Iron Stupa, as soon as he arrived. He also wanted to lead 1,000 Yang family's troops to attack Rose Villa. Without a doubt, Yang Dingtian wanted to use Rose Villa as a slaughterhouse. He wanted to kill all 1,000 Yang family's troops first. You're tuning into the Passion Page's YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.